Glenn Clark Radio, talking about the sports you do and don't know, both within and surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no, stuffing things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
Good morning. It is a Wednesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio, which would normally mean it would be a Would You Rather Wednesday, but I'm not giving anything away to anyone until you fill the bracket contest.
Wow.
Just being as honest as I can about it. I have priorities, and that's my priority. And I don't think you've let me down. We're on pace, right? Like, we've gotten about 17 per day, and if that continues today, we're good. We hit the 50 mark, but you know, sometimes you got to eat your vegetables. That's the way this works. My kids, they don't get it. They're like, "Why can't we just have ice cream for dinner, Dad?"
Are they in the pool?
You know, I didn't ask my older son if he wanted to get into that. I'd let him have a spot in it. But he's paying. I ain't paying for him. My father has this obsession with, like, he's got to pay for everything. I want to make this abundantly clear. That will not be an issue for my kids. All the stuff I've done for them, they can pay.
Your dad wants to pay for you.
Oh, he will never let me pay for anything. One time on his birthday, I went to the waitress and said, "This is the card. You run it. You do not bring the check to the table." And when he found out that I had done that, it ruined his birthday. And when I mean, he wouldn't talk to us the rest of the night.
Well, you were kind of rude, yeah.
The man will not let me pay for anything. We took my older son wanted to go to the Japanese steakhouse for his birthday, and so it was a whole crew of us: my parents, my kids, my wife, her mom, her stepmom. We all went to the Japanese steakhouse, and it was time for the check. And I said, "My God, it's my son's birthday. The old man's going to try to pay for everybody." And the old man's not made of money. Like, I don't know where this money comes from. I just said, "Old man."
That's what you said?
I did. I do.
Did you guys throw down or?
No, we didn't wrestle, but I thought about it. I said, "Old man, can I just let me pay for it? It's my son. Let me pay for dinner." And he said, "No." And I said, "Old man."
That's when you say, Mom said it's my turn to pay for dinner.
And this is where you got to fight a little bit. I'm like, "Let me pay for half of dinner. And if you don't let me pay for half of dinner, we're going to have problems." And he said, "I'm not okay with that." He said, "I don't want to create a scene. I'll allow you to pay for half of dinner." And it was the biggest win that I've ever had. And it was only because there were other people there, and he didn't want to create a scene.
I got to go out to dinner with your dad, I think.
Yeah.
So I can get, you know,
oh, you should.
Some free meals.
God. Let me make something abundantly clear about my kids. My kids will be paying for dinners. They will be doing that. Somebody said, "Oh, you say that now, you're not going to feel about it." No, they'll be paying for dinners. But they're not, and with that in mind, if he wants to get in the bracket contest, he's got to pay his money. It's $20, kiddo. That's the way it works, because it's for a charity. Great charity. Show your soft side. I love everything that they do for animals in our area. It's incredible, their work. It's just one of the most unbelievable organizations I've ever had the opportunity. And part of it is I've been able to see some of the inner workings of what they do, and it is it's guerrilla almost. Like, it's crazy how the women involved with Show Your Soft Side are just like, dirt under the nails, go out and do it themselves type of people with everything, rescuing, providing food, sheltering, the whole 9 yards, man. Incredible people. So get in today. Allow me to stop losing my mind. Glenn Clark on Venmo, 2 N's. Glenn Clark Radio on PayPal. No, on Cash App. Sorry, Glenn Clark Radio on Cash App. Glenn Clark 180 on PayPal. As of this morning, 35 of the 50 spots are filled. It might actually be more than that because I'm still doing some of the arithmetic. But, by the way, what a huge problem it would be if we go past 50. Would be terrible if it worked out that way. Would be awful if there was a bigger pot for the winner. There was over $500, and we gave more than $500 to Show Your Soft Side. That would be horrible. 15 spots. I want them filled. And I'm holding everything hostage until I do. You want the gift card to Glory Days Grill? Tell you what, you fill it up today, we'll do Would You Rather Thursday.
Whoa.
The alliteration doesn't work. We'll do something else.
Kind of sounds.
We'll do something. It won't be Would You Rather. It'll be something similar, and we'll give away some Glory Days gift cards tomorrow. We'll do Throwback Thursday. I don't know what you want to call it. Come up with your own alliteration. I can't be paid. I don't get paid enough to do it all. Fill the damn bracket contest. God. I feel like Napoleon Dynamite.
Is that what? That's
God. Just fill the bracket contest for please.
This the only time you feel like Napoleon Dynamite?
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't thought about Napoleon Dynamite. It was not that good of a film.
Well,
but we as a country got drunk on a mid-ass film.
I mean,
it was no more than okay.
It's been a while since I watched
it.
But
It wasn't good the first time. Anyway, fill the bracket contest. Share. Tell your friends. I don't feel like I'm asking for too much here. Don't be the a-hole movie guy on my trivia team who's just like, oh, I don't know about basketball. Shut up! Help prevent puppies from getting murdered, for F's sake.
I thought for a second it was produced by Jeremy Kahn. Apparently, Jeremy Kuhn is the name.
I'm pretty sure Jeremy didn't have anything to do with it. But I don't know that.
Jeremy Kuhn is the name of the producer of the film, not Kahn.
You know, Ryan Ripken's a friend of mine. You know you know how like when you ask somebody to retweet something, you follow up with a follow-up tweet like, "Hey, could you please retweet this?" I'm pretty sure every time Ryan just retweets the tweet that says, "Could you retweet that?" Like it just has everybody's names and no actual information.
Oh, he doesn't retweet.
I love him so much. One of my favorite people. He knows that. I don't think he believes that Bangladesh is a city in Europe, but it's a similar issue in that ultimately it doesn't help us. But I love you, and I hope you know that, pal. Thank you very much, as always. Today on the program, allegedly Drew Forrester is joining us. If he doesn't, we'll get on.
Will we, though? I mean, I don't know what's going on in the basketball world.
That's a great point. We'll miss out on NBA Corner, but, you know, they don't even do national TV games this week because they bow down to the NCAA Tournament. So, you know, who cares, right?
Is it even happening? Yeah. If a tree falls in the forest.
Exactly right. Also on the program today, Ryan Odom, head coach at VCU. First time they've won a conference tournament since he was at UMBC, or he's won a conference tournament since he was at UMBC, and, of course, famously went on to beat Virginia. Obviously, there's lots of rumors swirling about Ryan Odom. Awkward timing. But we'll talk to him about winning the A-10. Also share some John Feinstein memories with Ryan Odom as well. Later on in the program, Brenda Frese, Maryland women's coach. They're getting ready to face Norfolk State in round 1 down in College Park. And Towson lacrosse captain, Conor Spagnolli. They got a much-needed win over Delaware on Saturday in overtime. We will talk to him about that. So all of that coming up on the program today. Today's show brought to you by County Sports Zone. Winter sports season in the books. If you missed anything from championship weekend, you can find it right now. CountySports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. And now, shift towards the spring. It's been a busy start to lacrosse season. I think I saw McDonough lost down in Florida yesterday. I don't remember who they lost to, but that's a couple of losses early on in the season for McDonough. Busy week for Spalding. They've got Everest Academy today and then Bullis. That's a big one on Friday. Find out everything happening in high school lacrosse right now by going to countysports.zone. It's proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Congratulations to North Carolina, who proved everybody wrong. Bet you all feel very silly now. God. San Diego State, apparently, nobody informed them that they had made the NCAA tournament. Guys are like, man, it sucks playing in the NIT. Somebody's like, no, you're in the NCAA tournament. They're like, what? What? This doesn't feel right. What? They were awful.
I mean,
I didn't watch. I gave up on that very quickly. I did watch the end of the Alabama State game. That was exciting.
Very, very good.
It's just that it was bad basketball.
Well, no,
like it was really bad.
Winning team scored 70 points.
I'm aware, and they were just
they were knocking down some pretty big threes to tie the game,
throwing the ball away. It was bad.
I mean, the possession that St. Francis had right before that, it looked like they were about to win.
And then there were missed free throws.
Just kicked it out of bounds.
Just awful. But, a cool like if you're going to be watching, it's a cool ending. It's certainly not going to be memorable the way that some NCAA tournament buzzer beaters are because it was a 16-16 play-in game. Like, it's just, it's not the same thing.
I believe Spiro Deed said that it would be on One Shining Moment, so.
It probably, I mean, now that he said it, they probably feel like they have to put it in One Shining Moment.
Yeah, they will. Unless every single game in the first round, ends on a buzzer beater. But
we can only hope. We can only
Except for Maryland's game. They're going to win by 20.
As long as they win. I don't care if they win by. I'm not betting that game. It is not my concern how much they win by. So they win on a buzzer beater, they win. When Drew Nicholas beat it was UNC Wilmington. Nobody cares. It's the memory that matters. It's the memory. So, Alabama State with a thriller last night. North Carolina with a big win.
And the Atlanta Drive with a big win.
What is the Atlanta Drive?
That's the golf thing.
Oh, that's the video game?
Yeah.
They're into the final?
Minus 2.5.
Yeah. I don't know how the scoring works.
I know they won by more than 2.5.
That's what you know.
Well,
Drew, there are things that are your strength, and we will get to those coming up later on in the show.
Really? What are they?
The NBA, obviously. You're our association guy.
I forgot.
Yeah, didn't bother to prepare. I understand. We can't wait to find out
what
the headlines are on ESPN's NBA sub-page.
We had a listener question as well for
NBA
Corner.
NBA Corner.
My brother has a request of
wow.
he wants Drew's thoughts on something. So
can't wait to find out what that is. But before we do any of that, Drew's strengths we'll get to.
Okay.
There are certain people that we turn to the week of the NCAA tournament to get their expertise.
I've been waiting for this.
And Drew, with all due respect, you're not that guy. No
doubt.
No disrespect. When we need the hard information and the breakdown of games, we turn to the people that know best. And no one knows better than, of course, the great Mike Francesa. The year is 2017. It's been a so-so year from Maryland basketball.
What did they do that year?
They didn't beat any ranked teams. They went out in the first round of the Big Ten tournament. It was a so-so year. But they're in. They're in as a 6th seed, and they're getting ready for a matchup with Xavier. But Mike Francesa, he's already got him scooting past Xavier.
Nice.
No problem. He's got him on to round 2.
Nice.
And here is what our friend, the college basketball expert.
He does make millions.
Man makes millions of dollars to give you this breakdown of the Maryland, Florida State, second round NCAA tournament matchup that never happened. Here's Mike Francesa.
At Maryland and Florida State, which you've already had this year, you have, let's see what happened. What happened in those Maryland-Florida State games this year?
Should check on that.
I don't think it was a vintage Maryland year by any stretch, but I could see them. They didn't play once this year? Oh, Maryland. I'm thinking, geez, I'm forgetting Maryland. You know what? I'm forgetting now. I'm forgetting. Okay. You know what? I'm forgetting. You're right. They wouldn't play. So,
sure wouldn't.
So the bottom line is,
let's get the bottom line.
They could beat them.
Maryland should have been better. They had some injuries. They're hot and cold.
That's true.
Their best players hot and cold.
Who is that?
So from that standpoint, I could see them. I could see them winning this game. I could see them losing this game.
Those are the options.
One way or the other. I don't think it's I don't think it's that big a deal one way. I don't think it's a shocking game one way or the other. I think pretty big things were expected from Maryland this year. They really kind of disappointed. Had a kind of a hot and cold season. Good coach, well coached team.
Name it.
Obviously, always a lot of expectations there. They expect good things there all the time. They have very high expectations for that program, which you would expect. I mean, I think that's that's reasonable from the standpoint of week in, week out, what you would expect from that group.
What?
But I don't think they had a great year for them.
He's still going.
What I was thinking was old time ACC. I'm forgetting Maryland's in the Big Ten now. So, they've moved. So that's why I'm thinking they play each other. They're not in the same league anymore. You forget that Maryland moved. So,
don't forget it. You forgot it.
Bottom line is, I could see that game going one way or the other. I'm not a big Florida State fan.
No.
They had a good year. I just don't love them. I never have. So I go either way with that game.
Go either way. By the way, all of that. 2+ minutes of breakdown to end with, I have no thought.
Think you could do that?
I have no thought. I could go either way with that.
I mean, there was more going either way there than in an episode of Schitt's Creek.
I want to. They did do a lot of that. Schitt's Creek, you're right about that.
I mean,
they did do a lot of going either way. That is a thing that occurs.
Jeez, a whiz.
I kind of want to hit play again and then stop it when we need to analyze something.
Okay.
All right. I want to make sure none of the greatness of this audio ever gets lost. So hit play again, and then we'll tell you when to stop it so that we can analyze.
I mean, David Levy didn't flip-flop this much in Schitt's Creek, right?
Is that his name? Dan Levy.
Yeah,
Same
Dan
thing.
Levy.
It was the same thing.
Go ahead.
Maryland and Florida State.
Dan, pause. Pause.
He's right there.
Pause. Game didn't happen.
The game
Didn't happen.
Gotcha.
There was no Maryland-Florida State
And
game.
that's
in the
because
NCAA
why?
tournament. They lost to Xavier in round 1.
All right, who did?
11-6 upset. Maryland did.
Right, okay.
Maryland lost to Xavier.
This game never happened.
This
We
game
spent 7 minutes, never happened.
This entire soliloquy was for a game that didn't occur. Go ahead.
You've already had this year.
Stop.
Nope.
Did not play.
Right.
Did not.
0 for 2. Let's give him. We'll do wins and losses. All right, let's give him wins and losses.
Okay, I like this.
All right, let's do that.
Yeah, all right.
Let's see. 0 for 2.
So right now we've got 0 on the other side. We got 2 on the loss side.
Right.
All right, let's go ahead.
You have. Let's see what happened. What happened in those Maryland-Florida State games this year?
I mean, I didn't ask you to stop that.
Yeah.
We already got that loss.
I don't think it was a vintage Maryland year by any stretch.
All right, now hang on a second. How do we judge that?
Well, what were they that year? 20 and
They
13?
were 20. I have it right here. They were 24-9.
And what in conference play?
They were actually second in the Big Ten. They went 12-6.
They were not.
So it wasn't a vintage year.
They
He doesn't even know
They lost in the first round of the Big Ten tournament, though, to Northwestern.
He doesn't even know what conference they're in.
And
It's
by
a
the way,
loss.
what is a vintage
loss.
Maryland?
Right.
Year? Like they won a national championship.
In
but
fact, it actually was a vintage
I would
Maryland
argue
year.
it was definitively
They
a
went
vintage.
24-9. They flatlined in the tournament.
Right.
It was very much a vintage
I
Maryland
would
year.
absolutely argue
Right.
that
0-3.
Like, by the
Give
way,
me this. I'll do the scoring.
You go ahead.
0-3.
You keep track of it then.
All right.
Go ahead. 0-3.
I could see them. They didn't play once this year.
Well, and
Maryland.
now you've doubled down on it. 0-4.
Yeah, right. Go ahead.
I'm thinking, geez, I'm forgetting Maryland's. You know what? I'm forgetting now. I'm forgetting. Okay. You know what? I'm forgetting. You're right.
But what
They
are you?
wouldn't
Hang on. He just keeps saying, "I'm forgetting."
Right.
He's forgetting.
He doesn't explain what he's
It
forgetting.
might be because his producer is waving at him going,
Right.
No.
Yeah, you idiot.
No.
There is no Maryland. But he just says, I'm forgetting.
forgetting.
That's
Right.
all he says. Just, I'm forgetting. What are you forgetting? Are you forgetting where your pants are? Are you forgetting? Drew does that sometimes. He's in his 60s now. He struggles with
Man,
that.
his
It
coffee's
happens.
good. Go ahead.
All right, next.
So the bottom line is.
All right, pause. But only for foreshadowing, because as Drew pointed out the first time, this is the bottom line. Apparently, in a minute and a half, there's a new bottom line.
Right.
So it's not a loss yet. But we'll get to the.
It will be.
Foreshadowing is this is not the bottom line.
Right.
Go ahead.
Maryland should have been better. They had some injuries.
Okay, let's pause.
Maryland should have been better. They had some injuries.
Should they have been better?
They had one non-conference loss.
That was to Pittsburgh.
Yes.
They got
at home.
Kind of hammered at home by Pittsburgh.
They also only beat Towson by 5 that year.
Okay.
I don't remember there being. Let's go back. This is not the team that had all the expectations. Rashid Suleiman, Diamond Stone, all of that. This was starting 5 for that Maryland team.
Okay.
To be fair, NBA player Kevin Herter. Kevin Herter has proven to be a quality NBA player.
Made a lot of money.
Justin Jackson, I believe, was drafted but never really did anything in the NBA. Was most everyone involved. Unless
this, by the way, was what year?
This was 2017. 2016, 2017.
Gotcha. Okay.
DeMonte Dodd was their starting center, who
awful
was a nice guy.
Awful.
Yes. Well. Now, to be fair, they had 2 quality players in the backcourt, Anthony Cowan and Melo Trimble, neither one of which is an NBA player, but both were real players. At that point, Melo Trimble hadn't become...
If you would have said before the season, based on that roster, notwithstanding Dodd, who was terrible, Maryland, I saw the script. Maryland goes 24-9, loses to Northwestern, and then gets beat by Xavier in the first round. You would have said...
That's about right.
No.
No, I disagree.
I think you would have said, really? They lost to Northwestern in the first round and Xavier? I'm going to give him a win here.
All right. Wow, you are benevolent. You are benevolent.
I'm giving him a win.
I do not remember there being high.
I think they...
All right, hang on. We need a judge's ruling. Were they ranked in the preseason?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking you to look up. Were they ranked?
Yes, I have it. They were 25th in the preseason.
I'm going to give him a win here.
I mean, 25th smells like if they were. Hang on.
They also
if they were
ended
a 6th seed in the NCAA
at the end of the
tournament.
regular season. In the final regular season poll, they were also 25th.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
You're denigrating this guy.
No.
This guy knows basketball.
No, I just want a sheer judge's ruling here. If they were ranked 25th before the season, and then they finished the season 25th, they met their expectations. They didn't disappoint. They met them.
I'm doing the scoring.
Well, so here's the thing. They were 25th. They drop out of the rankings after they beat American by 6 points in the opener.
I understand that. But they were 25th. They finished 25th, and they were a 6th seed in the NCAA tournament. It sounds like they literally lived up to expectations.
Right. Hit play.
Okay. I disagree with your scoring on this.
Injuries. They're hot and cold.
What were the injuries? Do you remember injuries to the Maryland basketball team?
I'm sure they had, maybe an illness or something.
But do you remember anybody missing any amount of time?
Me personally,
Hang on a second. Let's pull up the box score from the Maryland Northwestern basketball game and see if anyone missed that game of note. Because if they did, then I am. Drew wants us to be fair. Drew's all worried that we're being tough on.
This wasn't a bad team. Tchaikovsky, the 7-footer, that was a fun.
He was a
that guy was. Yeah, right.
Deion Wiley, Jared Nickens.
They did a dance. That was what they were known for.
They had Bender and Tchaikovsky. That was the
stunk.
He gets a loss here.
You're not even bothering to let me check on the injuries?
He says later on they were hot and cold. That's another loss.
Well, yeah,
because you can't just say that.
Well, I mean, if you are,
you're a moron.
All right, let's see. I'm trying to
hang on. I'm pulling it up.
Herter, Cowan, Jackson, and Trimble all played just about. They started almost every game. Those 4.
Well, they all played in the Big Ten tournament.
DeMonte Dodd.
They were perfectly healthy. Okay. Injuries were not.
DeMonte Dodd played 26 games out of 33.
Yeah, those were probably 7.
So maybe he was banged up.
That was terrible.
Yeah, the injuries were not the issue.
Okay.
Drew's right. Drew's giving him one more win than he deserves.
He's
giving him one more win than he deserves, but go ahead.
Cold. Their best players, hot and cold.
Pause.
Stop.
You want to go
name the player.
Right.
That's the part. Name with your life on the line. Name the player. Name who that person is.
It would be like me saying that guy that hit the ball in the water the other day at 17 at Sawgrass. You could see that coming a mile away.
Who was that?
Yeah, that guy that hit the ball in the water.
Like me saying it,
right.
Although I know it was JJ Spanish, right? That was
JJ Spong.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Loss.
we're not giving him a point for saying that he was hot and cold, or
Who was it?
Melo Trimble.
But you don't know that was their best
Oh,
player.
okay. Oh, you're saying we're going in this as
Saying he has no idea.
we live on the West
who
Coast. We only watched one, if that. Maryland
Noah
game.
has no idea. He's not even on the West Coast. He's in New York. What do you mean?
I'm saying somewhat a neutral
Yeah,
listener.
but somebody who'll be listening, you're listening for the breakdown of the NCAA tournament.
right.
You need to tell me who the best player is, not their best player. Who is that?
He was pretty good. He only scored less than 10 points twice.
Go.
He was not cold.
So from that standpoint, I could see them. I could see them winning this game. I could see them losing this game.
Okay,
Pause.
he gets 2 losses.
I don't know though. You go ahead. But to be fair, he's right.
He got.
Those are the options.
So he gets 2 losses and
so
a win.
you- You wanted to give him
That's
a
right.
win for the
No, we'll give him a win there. He's 2-6.
They could
2-7
They
now.
could have won the
No,
game.
he's right.
They could have lost the game.
No, he's right there.
Those are the options.
It's a slippery slope, but he's right.
Right. I think that you've given him one more win than he deserves, but I think that one's a win because
I
those
agree.
are the options.
You're right.
Go right ahead. Or maybe he deserves a win and a loss for that because
Because you're a moron.
No, because you could see him winning it, and you could see him losing it. I think you should give him one of both for that. Go ahead.
One way or the other, I don't think it's I don't think it's that big a deal. One way, I don't think it's a shocking
Stop.
game. One way.
It's not a big deal. It's the NCAA tournament,
Yeah,
you
right,
idiot.
Right. Like, oh no, is this a must-win? Calling in. Hey, Mikey, I got a question for
Hey,
you.
Mike.
Maryland, Florida State in the second round. You think that's a must-win game for Maryland or no?
Right.
Mike Francesa says, nah, if they
Nah,
lose that one,
It's not a big deal.
no big deal.
Except
Like,
the coach gets fired.
still think they can make a run.
Right.
Not that big of a deal.
It's
This
a double.
is
It's a double
analysis.
elimination tournament. I
This
mean,
is analysis of the NCAA tournament game. Whatever happens, not that big of a deal. Go on.
Way or the other, I
$1,500,000 a
think
year.
Yes, correct.
$1,500,000 a year.
Correct.
Pretty big things were expected from Maryland this year. They
Again,
really kind of
no. No, they weren't. They were ranked 25th in the preseason poll.
Lost.
We just established that. There were not big things expected from that
2-9.
Maryland team. And that's favorable.
disappointed. Had a kind of a hot and cold season. Good coach.
Nope. Stop.
10.
He said 2 things there. He repeated hot and cold, and then what did he say? Good coach.
11.
Cold season. Good coach.
Who was the coach of the team?
Right.
Well, he's obviously gone on to do great things since then.
Right. 2-11.
So the back after this account posted something yesterday. They said so. Apparently, Mike did post his tournament preview on YouTube for this year.
No, we don't have time to
I know
listen
we
to
don't
the
have
whole
time.
thing.
He said though, he counted. He said he listed 12 teams as very well coached, and 8 teams is up and down.
That's really great. That's really
Right.
great.
All right, Mike, here
Next.
we go. For $25 million, name 8 of the 12 coaches.
Yes.
Ready? Go.
Coach team. Obviously always a lot of expectations there.
Stop. Since when?
And who? A lot of expectations. Are we still talking about Maryland?
This was
or Florida
2017.
State?
It had been 7 years since the Gravis Vasquez team that didn't even make the Sweet 16, which was the last team that had any real expectations. Did you give him another loss for that?
This is like saying.
Did you put another one on
This
him?
is like saying. This is very similar to saying. The Jets. A lot of expectations for the Jets. They did win the Super Bowl in 1968. A lot of
They won
expectations.
Super Bowl 3. They
Or
won.
69, whatever it was.
Yeah, right. Go.
They expect good things there all the time. They have
Stop. Who does?
Well, soccer
I
team.
do.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah,
the soccer
teams and the field hockey team have both been very good.
Men's lacrosse has been outstanding.
right.
It's a good. Women's lacrosse is always good. That's what. Maybe a half a loss for that one, right? Like perhaps he was getting confused with like the field hockey
Football
program.
team,
That might be what happened there. All right.
I'm just giving him losses now. I don't even know if I'm right.
very high expectations for that program, which you would expect. I mean, I think that
Wait. That's my favorite. That's my
Which you would
favorite
expect.
combination of words.
Who?
Very high expectations, which you would expect.
Right.
What? What does that mean? Please, put another.
Oh, sure.
That sentence doesn't make any sense. Go ahead.
that's reasonable from a standpoint of week in, week out, what you would expect from that group.
What
But
was any of that?
Well, it's reasonable.
The president of the United States doesn't know what that sentence was. It's reasonable based on what our expectations are. What is that? Go.
I don't think they had a great year for them.
He was right about that.
What I was thinking was
They had
old time.
exactly the type of year they would have.
Didn't have a great year.
But he said for them, not a great year overall. He said, I don't think they had a great year for them. They had exactly the year that they would have.
Well, that's where I would disagree with you. And I'm keeping the score.
Okay, fine.
3-14.
Drew's starting to empathy's kicking in for the first time in his life.
What I was thinking was old time ACC. I'm forgetting Maryland's in the Big Ten now, so they moved. So that's why I'm thinking they play.
That's gotta be a win, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he that's a fact. That's a
can't-
fact, though.
But he does know
you can't
that
you can't be that wrong.
Right, but he knows that they were in a conference together at some point. I think I think you've been too benevolent in your wins.
Now give him one.
Big W for big.
I think
bucks.
that one is an actual win, unlike some of the I think some of the others.
All right, 4-13, 4-14.
That's real analysis.
Each other. They're not even the same league anymore. You forget that Maryland moved. So
I forget.
People do.
bottom line is
Stop. Gotta give him a loss.
Yeah, 15.
There was a previous bottom line. Here's the new bottom line.
It's the same one as before.
Right, nothing. Go ahead.
I could see that game going one way or the other. I'm not a big Florida State fan.
Better give him a win for that one. You better give him a win. It can go one way or the other. And he's not a big Florida State fan. Who is?
Right.
Who's a big Florida
Other than
State fan?
Pat Kennedy.
Go ahead.
They had a good year. I just don't love them. I never have. So I go either way with that game.
Go either way with that game. Go either way with that game. That's why you turn to this man for your betting analysis.
$1.5 million.
He can tell you things that you can't get anywhere else. Go either way with that game.
So, if you're going to bet it, bet 50 on Maryland.
Right.
And 50 on Florida State.
Exactly right.
And you're a winner.
You can't lose.
Right.
You absolutely can't
You'll lose
lose.
$10.
It can go either way.
Right.
That's the way that
You're going
it'll
to lose
go.
the juice. You lose
That's
$10.
it. That's all that you're going to lose.
Xavier beat Florida State by 25 in the next round. Then they beat Arizona, and they lost to Gonzaga in the Elite Eight.
How about that?
Nice run.
Final tally. 5 right, 15 wrong.
And you were benevolent.
In 7
And
minutes.
you were incredibly. This is
2 minutes.
This is religious Drew. This is older Drew feeling sorry for a man who has passed his prime. He's starting to feel like
$1.5 million.
I could have been that guy.
Beautiful house in the Hamptons. Mikey, great show this week.
God.
Thanks, Bobby.
The greatest.
Come on
audio.
over. You guys want to go to Moscow Mule with me and sit by the pool? Man, Mike, what a house, huh? Yeah, baby. Been working hard for this one.
Yeah.
And I've
Talk
been
about
putting in 20 years at the fan.
Not
Yeah, Mikey. Hey,
Not
Mike, you want to go get a pizza? Nah, let's just call it in. Don't bring it down here. Anybody got an extra 100? Let's tip this kid 100 when he comes in with the pizza. Life's great, isn't it? What kind of cigars are these, Mike? They're right from Cuba. I fly them right in. You know, when you make $1.5 million a year, you fly them in from Cuba.
Hey, Mikey, what do you think about that Maryland-Florida State game?
Oh man.
Talk about teams with preseason expectations. That was Xavier was top 7 in the preseason.
Go ahead and go to the. I mean, if you're going to do this,
No,
you
we're
gotta
not
play
just
the
going
great-
to. I want to talk to you about Feinstein. I
You
want to
got to
talk
play the
about,
greatest hits. You got to play the Sleepy Floyd thing. At least do that for me.
Well,
I
tell you what.
endured
All
this.
right, I'll try to
What do you
find
mean you
it.
endured this? This is the greatest audio of all time.
Play the Sleepy Floyd thing for
The
me.
most meaningful
Just
audio.
at least play that.
You don't get to NCAA Tournament week without getting the breakdown from the guy who knows.
Just play.
We
this
don't just
for
bring
me.
anybody on this
My
show
day.
to talk about the NCAA. I was trying to explain to Griffin how we used to do this. How we would do an hour on like a Tuesday or Wednesday of
Why we have to
NCAA
stop?
Tournament weeks.
Yeah.
Just breaking down the brackets until you and I got to the point where we realized we didn't know any of the players on these teams.
Right. Pat Kennedy would come in with a book.
Yeah.
And Pat would leave his bracket, and Pat would go 7 and what are there 16 games a day? Pat would go 9-7 the first day,
Yeah.
and 10-6 the second day, while everyone else in the country
Went
was going
14-2.
was going 30 and 4 in the first round. Pat was going 24 and 12 or whatever.
He was a good man.
Pat's a good man.
You better. You
That's
better
a good
calm
man.
down.
All right, play it. Let's go.
I gotta find it.
Oh, for God's sake!
Just go to YouTube and type in
All right.
Mike Francesco falls asleep, and
Well,
it'll.
no, because then it's going to be the Sweeney Murdy interview, and you're not going to. You want the follow-up call.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the one where he.
He was talking to Sweeney Murdy, the Yankees reporter, and he
did
fell
fall
asleep.
And then he got mad. Remember, he goes,
Yeah.
I've been working.
Yeah.
I've been working hard. What did he say? Something like, I've been working hard.
But he didn't fall asleep. He wanted you to.
Right.
He wanted you to know.
I didn't fall
He
asleep.
did not fall
Sometimes
asleep.
I get tired and I nod off like that.
Yeah. But we'll find that. We also need to do NBA Corner. We need to share some Feinstein stories, and we will talk about. Everybody got all worked up about Kobe Mayo yesterday. We'll talk about that.
What happened to him? He got sent down.
Well, yeah, he got. We all knew that was happening. Then he explained how he was feeling, and
The Sweeney Murdy one?
No, not. I just said not that one.
I don't.
Caller.
Just put
This guy.
Francesco callers.
Yes, there's a caller who
Sleep.
called in and followed up and said, "I love watching MSG Classics."
Like,
It
hey,
was good. Well, here's what. We'll take a break.
Think
and
you're funny.
You can find it, and then to pacify Drew, we'll play it on the other side.
yay.
All right, that's what we'll do. Drew's here. It is a Wednesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
March is a slam dunk at Live Casino. Catch all the basketball action and more at Sports and Social. Enter our $80,000 Dolce & Gabbana giveaway on March 28th. And catch the Baltimore baseball jersey giveaway March 31st. Take your shot at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in Maryland. But don't worry, protection is within arm's reach. Protect your health with this year's COVID-19 and flu shots. It's safe and convenient to get them both at the same time. Flex your protection. For more information, visit health.maryland.gov/vaccines.
This message paid for by the Maryland Department of Health.
Want to improve your golf game or learn to play for the first time? The Baltimore Golf Academy has fun, instructional programs for the beginner golfer to everyday players. The Baltimore Golf Academy can take your game to the next level. Enroll today at baltimoregolfacademy.com.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR. Drew's here. I don't know why. This is not the greatest audio of all time. We already played that, but it's very good. It's one of Drew's favorites. This is kind of what we used to do. You may remember once upon a time, Francesa then fell asleep on the air while he was talking to Sweeney Murdy, and
definitely fell asleep.
Yes, 100%.
Acted like he didn't.
About it.
Tried not. We've all done it, right? You've been to a movie.
Sweeney Murdy's
You've been to a movie with your wife, and you definitely dozed off, and you wake up and you're like, "Oh, I hope she didn't know." Yeah. We've all done it.
Sweeney Murdy's like, "Well, Sharon might be out for a month. We're not sure." And And then you see him
Right.
legitimately shake himself awake. Like, where am I? What's going on? Because he's on Fox Sports 1 at the time, by the way.
Right.
That's or whatever he's cable network he's on. So then,
have you ever fallen asleep at the wheel?
I have had moments where I've realized I need to.
Yeah. I fell asleep on it. I fell asleep once. Again, you don't really know. I think it was for 1 second.
I also ended up in a ditch once.
I remember that, supposedly. When you fall asleep and you're driving and you wake up, it could be, you feel like it could have been a minute, even though it was
100%.
1 second, right?
Yeah,
all right, go ahead.
A nanosecond. So the next day, he's just trying to do the show.
I mean, poor guy, right?
He's got topics to get to. He's going to get you the sports, Mike Francesa.
Right.
So back to the sports the next day on the Mike Francesa program.
Ken on the call phone. What's up, Ken?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Good.
Just want to talk about how I don't think the Mets are going to re-sign David Wright. But I also, real quick, I also know you're a big movie buff. And for the kids, you should probably watch the Smurfs because they probably love Sleepy. It's just like their dad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, another real good joke. Yeah, no, it's great. Use a Smurf joke because that's really, that really ties into our audience because we got a lot of 5 and 6 year olds listening in our audience. It really does. It works. You hit the audience right on the head because that really is our core audience, the 5 and 6 year olds.
He thinks the joke's on
right after they get out of nursery school, they're dying to get
Right.
their phones and get to the
Right.
show. Well, Charlie in Queens, what's up, Charlie?
Hey.
What's up?
How you doing?
What's
That
up?
NFL Network, Mike, it's a snooze fest anyway. The NFL Network half the time. Come on.
No, you need games. They got games every week
Not at
now
all.
on it, though.
Well, but I'm saying when there's not a game on and then...
Yeah, but now they have a game every week.
Now, but then 9 months out of the year, it's a real snooze fest. You're better off MSG Network. You watch old Sleepy Floyd, King the Dream. You know what I mean? And that guy wanting Paterno would be in trouble.
Well, let's see how many references you can make till the audience realizes what you're doing. What do you think,
How
Charlie?
about till the host realizes?
What a fool! What a fool! You people are just,
Till the
they're
host
just silly. Really are. Justin in Queens, what's up, Justin?
Hey, what's up, Mike?
What's happened?
Listen, I'm in the car listening, and I just heard the interview with Ojeda.
Mm-hmm.
By any chance, did you fall asleep?
They went 3
Okay. Got anything else you want to add?
No, I gotta be honest. Your eyes were hilarious on that thing.
Anything else you want to add?
Mike, it was priceless. Mike.
Anything else you want to add?
I do, but Mike.
Do you want to add anything else? I'm asking you. I asked you once. I'm asking you again. Do you want anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. You want?
Mike, the eyes were priceless, Mike.
Well, you know what? I'm glad. I'm glad you liked that 10-second video. And if that's what you take out of 25 years of my career, well, you know what? That's kind of sad, but it speaks to you, not me. And you sat there an hour to say that. An hour to make that point. But I hope you had a good time because it didn't bother me at all. Kenny in Brooklyn, because I'm still going to be here tomorrow, the next day, and get paid a fortune to sit here and do this. So just remember that. Kenny in Brooklyn, what's up?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah,
I mean, they went 3. They went 3 in a row. After the second one, I definitely would have said to the producer,
maybe we don't.
Let's take a break.
Let's do something else next segment.
Let's take a break.
Call Sweeney.
Let's take a break.
Let's do anything but
And when
this.
when the guy with the last one started,
maybe we break down the NCAA tournament in the next.
But when the guy started with the last one and he said, "Mike, your eyes are bright," that would have been it.
Right. He just kept
Hang up on him.
All right.
Like, hey.
All right. That's what we. That was the old show. It's just making fun of Francesa more. It's basically and Sports Center clips.
See,
that
we
was
did
what
the opposite
did.
when we were on the air. When we had somebody like Merton call and antagonize us, we made him into a star.
Correct.
I said,
Exactly right.
better the devil you know than the devil you don't. Let the guy call in at 8:30 every Monday.
Every Monday. There's always last year.
Make sure you used
let
to
him
yell.
sing, you
Let
son
him-
of a bitch. I was from the other room. You son of a bitch, you let him sing.
Because I was always like,
I had enough of you.
Get this guy out of here.
Had enough of
and
you.
I'm acting like I'm trying to hit
I
the.
know.
I'm like, where's Luke?
It was a whole.
Get this guy off the air. Where's Glenn? Where'd Glenn go?
Get
this guy off the air,
wonderful.
Glenn. Hit the button. Meanwhile, I got the button right in front of me.
Speaking of the old show.
Oh my God.
I know it's been a few days, but I was talking to Patrick Stevens yesterday, and he reminded me. There are legends. John Feinstein checked every box. He was what we all wanted to be, but he was better, frankly, and yet he was a curmudgeon. Like he was a curmudgeon, and yet he was the curmudgeon that also happened to be like the nicest human being alive. It's extraordinarily difficult to try to explain all of the tentacles of John Feinstein, who, as everyone knows, was a regular, and you couldn't get him off the phone. We would do 30 minutes, and sometimes he'd be angry that we didn't give him more time. I read what you wrote at drewsmorningdish.com about John Feinstein, and I don't know. Let's share a few things.
Well, he was incredibly authentic. I think when you do this, I'm putting this in air quotes, right? When you do this for a living, there are so many layers to doing media. You've sort of done a lot of them. Because at your age, you've got a life of this. Like, you've done a lot of them. You've done authentic radio. You've done kind of slapstick fun radio, because that's what we tried to do from 6 to 10 every morning. We tried to have fun. We were serious, I think. We did. The baseball team didn't help us because they were terrible. But, you and I would go out there to Owings Mills Monday and Wednesday, and when I say act, that's not the right word, but you and I would go out there on Monday and Wednesday, and we would act like we were knee-deep into the Ravens, because we were. But we could also go on the air and have a good time, and we could also have Sam Cooke come on the show and talk about a charity he was supporting, or have Dan Wilcox go out and shoot foul shots with us. We tried to do all of it, right? And so there are a lot of layers to media. Well, one of them is what this guy in New York was. He was a total imposter. He was a total imposter. Right. But he served that market well, because that's the nature of people up there, is to be I don't even know what the word is. The nature of people up there is everything is a bigger deal than it really is. Mm-hmm. He was a bigger deal than he really was. And there are layers to people who try to be authentic. Mike Lupica, I always felt, was authentic. John Feinstein was probably the most authentic person that I ever encountered in the media, ever. What he was what he was.
Correct.
He didn't, and I joked around. I wrote about it at Drew's Morning Dish about the little inside joke about him not wanting to be placed on hold. Whether or not you think, whatever you think that makes him, he didn't give a damn.
Right.
I don't want to wait on hold for a minute while you play commercials. Just call me when you're ready to talk to me.
Yep.
And while whatever you think of that, the reality is it totally makes sense. Why wait on hold for a minute? No matter what you're doing, I don't care if you're just sitting in your chair or if you're eating cornflakes. Call me when you're ready to have me on the air, and I'll do whatever you want. Just don't leave me on hold. Does that make him a bad guy? I don't. I thought it was funny. We all laughed about it. It became a little bit of the ritual at the station. I remember Ryan Shell getting lit up because we didn't tell Ryan. And then he called Ryan back. He's like, I know you're new. Mm-hmm. Don't ever do that to me, right? He was very authentic. I wrote about his thing with Tiger. He was a huge Tiger fan when Tiger first came out, like everyone was, because no one had seen anything like Tiger, maybe ever, as the total package, whereas Jack, and I wasn't around for Jack's rise to stardom in golf, Jack was the pudgy country club white kid from Columbus who smoked cigarettes and played golf and beat everybody, but there was no marketing appeal to Jack. Mm-hmm. Tiger had the whole package, and John really, really liked that until he discovered that Tiger was a jackass. Mm-hmm. And then he didn't like him anymore. And Tiger, you talk about authentic versus non-authentic, Tiger might have been one of the least authentic athletes, star athletes, in the history of star athletes. Tiger was very unauthentic, and I think that's why John didn't like him. I think John liked people who were authentic. And I would say, and I'm not saying this to put us on a pedestal, I feel like he probably liked us for that.
I think there's something to be said for that.
He you know, we didn't walk around talking like we were Mike friends. We knew what we were. We love sports. We like to talk about it. We were interested in it. I was always interested in people. I've always been interested more in people than sports. I don't really give a damn who wins and loses, but I want to talk to the people about it. And his Tom Izzo piece was unbelievable. The day he died. That piece was incredible. And he was a very, very well-rounded. He could talk to you about tennis. He could talk to you about tennis, and you're a P1 tennis guy.
Correct.
And would wind up teaching you something about tennis. He would talk to me about golf and teach me something about golf. And I'm a P1 golf. He could talk about the NFL. He could talk about Ivy League basketball. And I think of all the things that really struck me about him. Yeah, he had a really, really nice place down in Annapolis. He had a really nice apartment in Manhattan. Like there was part of him that enjoyed the, whatever you want to call it. He enjoyed the benefits of being John Feinstein.
The success of his books.
No doubt. He enjoyed that. Good for him. He should enjoy it. But you know what else he did? He would go watch Bucknell play American University on a Friday night down there in D.C., and he'd get something out of that. He'd get a story out of that. He would go watch Army and Navy play football, and he'd get something out of that. He would go down there and watch Maryland's girls field hockey team play against some team from Australia, and he'd get something out of that. He could go watch an under-12 soccer game at some field down there in Anne Arundel County and get something out of that. He didn't have to write about Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods. He could get something out of anything, which to me was always amazing. When you go back and look at his books. I went back last week and looked at, I have about 8 of them, 7 or 8 of the books. Good Walk Spoiled was phenomenal. The book about the U.S. Open that kind of focused on Beth Page was phenomenal, particularly for a golf junkie because Beth Page is such an anomaly because it's a public golf course that they transformed into a championship golf course, and we can all play it. I'll never play Augusta. John never wrote a book about Augusta, but he went up there and wrote.
In fact, he would openly talk about the disdain that he had for patrons
because they weren't authentic.
Correct.
Right.
For all of the nonsense.
But that place up in Bethpage is authentic. It's just a golf course that they transformed into something magical. And he wrote a great book about that U.S. Open that Lucas Glover won. But I think the best book he ever did, wish he were around for us to talk to him about it. That book that he did on Messina and Glavin was unbelievable in its detail and the way he made both of those guys. He when you were finished with that book, you knew exactly what both of those guys were like as people. Messina was a lot like him. I think that's why he gravitated to Messina. Messina, anybody that was around in his day here, Messina was a little bit of a curmudgeon and a little sharp around the edges and didn't suffer fools. Glavin was the erudite, very smart, almost knew too much. And so was Mike. Mike obviously went to Stanford. But that book he wrote about those two pitchers was unbelievable. It was so good, and it taught you so much about pitching and so much about baseball. And it just centered on two guys. He just picked these two guys out and said, lefty, righty, New York, right? Obviously, Glavin's heyday was with the Braves,
right.
But it was incredible. His writing was unreal. It was so good. It was crazy.
There's no question about that. The Army-Navy book to me was the one. It was what began my fascination with Army-Navy. It was always on TV and I always watched. Right. But the reason why I wanted to go to Army-Navy games and I wanted to immerse myself was because I finally read that book. And
there are not many There are not many non-family deaths that stop me. That stopped me the other day.
Well, and
that one really stopped me.
To your point about I said this the other day. I was a John Feinstein fan, and then I had a host that I worked with in Arizona who was like, "I bet you couldn't get John Feinstein on the show," and I kind of chuckled because he didn't realize that I can do that, but never struck me that John thought I was his friend until I was at an Army-Navy game in Philadelphia, and there was he had just come on this is after you and I had split. He had come on my show the day before because I told Ryan to book him just to talk about Army-Navy, and then I was doing Radio Row for Army-Navy, and they were like, "Hey, well, you want to have Feinstein on?" And I was like, "I just had him on yesterday," and John said, "You don't want to have me on today?" I want to come on with you.
Right.
And I was like, "What are we, best friends?" And he was like, "Do you not think I'm your friend?" We had this whole conversation, and it was it floored me. John Feinstein considers me a friend.
He was also really good, and I'll say the same thing about Nance. This is kind of a life lesson. John always used your name.
Yep.
It was very interesting how he would always say your name around, when you first greeted him, it was almost like, and Nance does the same thing. It was almost like he wanted to make sure you know that he does know who you are. And I wrote about that moment that I had when I went down to the Towson basketball game, and I went down there to the courtside, and Mike Gathigan was there, who used to work for me. And in all honesty, I didn't even know John was there, but I wanted to go down and say hi to Gathy. And I went down there, and there was John. And he's like, "Drew, I am so happy to see you.
Mm-hmm.
I owe you. Didn't your golf team win the championship last spring?" "Yeah." I'm shaking his hand, and he's like, "Good for you. Way to go." I don't know that he knew I coached at Calvert Hall. I don't know that he knew Calvert Hall. It's a little bit of a Francesa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mike, John, what's the name of the school?
Right, correct.
But he knew somehow, whether or not someone said something to him, he saw it in the newspaper. I don't know how, but he knew it. He totally knew it. "Hey, I heard your team won the golf championship, man. Congratulations." That really said something to me. He was just a really, really authentic guy.
No question.
Incredibly authentic. Extraordinary writer. Great analyst. Loved, obviously.
Storyteller.
Loved. And I was going to say, analyst might not be the right word. That was kind of the first thing that came to my mind. But his analysis was more about the stories that accompany the games, right? The stories that accompany the golfers. He could do analysis, but he was far better served sort of telling the story about this kid, where he came from, this golfer, what he faced. He was just an incredibly well-rounded guy, man. It was terrible. And like I said, not many non-family deaths stopped me. Springsteen would be one for sure. Feinstein, that news the other day stopped me.
This is actually a perfect time to bring in our next guest, and we're going to talk to him about, the excitement of winning the A-10 and getting ready for the NCAA tournament. But obviously, when he was at UMBC, John was the color analyst for their games. So I want to talk to him about John for a minute before we talk about that. Of course, he is now the head coach at VCU. He's been a longtime friend of ours as well. He is Coach Ryan Odom, and he's back with us this morning here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn, and Drew Forrester is here with me. Congratulations. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be on with you guys.
Coach, before we talk about the excitement, as we were just discussing a second ago, we were very close with John Feinstein, and he was a regular over the years. And I know how important it was for you and what you were trying to establish with UMBC basketball that John was doing the games for you guys. Can you share a little bit with us about your relationship with John, where it started? Because I'm assuming growing up in basketball, it didn't start when you arrived at UMBC.
Yeah, no question. I mean, John was a dear friend, first and foremost. Obviously, he meant so much to so many people that didn't even know him. Would wake up in the morning and read what he had to say, about yesterday's event. And, he was the consummate professional, consummate friend, to so many in our business and obviously other, sports avenues as well. One of the best sports writers to ever do it, probably the best sports writer to do it. And, I was just very fortunate to meet him at a young age through my dad and reconnect with him, when we first got to UMBC. And, proud to call him a friend. And, he certainly was very loyal and helped our program so much. Just having him around was a huge thing, for us at UMBC and trying to get it going there. And he loved every, and he wasn't all about the big time. And I think that's the cool thing, about John. Like he really, appreciated all sports and all coaches and the job that they had to do. And, was just really, really respectful. But at the same time would tell you what he thought as well and wouldn't shy away from that. And, that's, he's going to be dearly missed, of course.
I think one of the best things about him, and you just said it, he could go watch he could go watch UMBC in Hartford on a Wednesday night at UMBC with 410 people in the stadium and make something out of it. Like he didn't have to go to see Duke and Kentucky play. He could go down to a game. He could go watch George Washington play LaSalle, and he would get as much joy out of that as he would watching, UConn and Georgetown play.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And he loved all sports and read the personalities and the people, as well. And you think about all the famous coaches that he, got close to over the years, from Coach K, Coach Izzo, Big John Thompson, Dean Smith, just so many. Gary Williams, of course, he's just a personality in our sport, and somebody that even to the last day, like he was down there at Longwood, living in Farmville, Virginia with Ref Aldrich, who worked for me at UMBC. They met at UMBC, and he's teaching classes at Longwood University and doing their games, down there, and loving every second of it. And so, yeah,
well,
that deal.
One of the things you mentioned too, and you as a coach, this, when it isn't often that coaches are willing to embrace members of the media, particularly big-time significant
and opinionated members of the media,
because they know power of the pen, right? And I'll use Izzo and Mike and Coach K as an example. Like, what do they need John Feinstein for? Like they got all the money they need, they got all the prestige they need, they got all the wins they need, but they knew that he appreciated coaching. And I think inherently, most coaches feel like the media is probably out to either get them or figure out a way to get them. And he, the fact that he had so many of those big time coaches in his corner and his friend really tells you a lot about him, I think.
Yeah, there's no question about it, and I'm certainly proud to have called him a friend, and feel for his family right now, and but there's always life comes to an end for everybody. You have to appreciate the time that you have together, in present, and that on a daily basis.
Coach Ryan Odom is with us here on GCR. Coach, obviously I know it's a very exciting time for you and for VCU. It had been since obviously the famous run of the America East title. That was 7 years since the last time you had cut down the conference championship nets. What did that feel like on Sunday? What did it mean?
Didn't they beat Virginia once?
I heard a rumor. What did it mean to deliver that for a program like VCU?
It meant everything, for these kids that have worked so hard. Dude came.
All right, let's see if we can't. I apologize, Coach. You're cutting in and out. We're going to see if we can't get that straightened out.
Hey, Coach. Yeah.
I appreciate Ryan Odom spending time with us, and they're getting ready to play BYU in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Have you gotten into the bracket contest yet?
I haven't.
Yeah. Okay.
And the reason I haven't is, I mean, these guys. I could take either one of them. They could win or lose.
I understand that. I understand. Just get in the damn.
Okay, I will.
Would you?
I am so.
Don't. I don't want to. I don't want to hear it.
I know.
Don't want to hear it.
I know you don't.
We do charity things here. We're just talking about the different types.
We'll do charity.
Yeah, right. When they pay us to do charity. No, it's not the way that charity works. That's not what this is.
I got VCU going all the way.
He can't hear you yet.
Oh.
So, yeah, you better wait a second. He wasn't even on hold yet.
I got VCU going to the Final Four.
Yeah, get in the contest. Coach, sorry. We just want to make sure we had that clear with you. And I can tell, obviously, it's an extraordinary, meaningful thing to deliver a conference title.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And, these kids work so hard for it. They were disappointed, from a season ago, in the championship game, and that was our only chance to get in, during that season. And they used it as motivation for this year. And from that moment on, worked really hard. And, we've added some really good players, both freshmen and transfers, that have really added to the team. And this really has been a remarkable season. And in a lot of ways, 28 wins, conference regular season championship, tournament championship, and now in the NCAA tournament. And let's see what we can do.
There's something to be said for the you want whatever you want to call it, double dipping or whatever. I know, obviously, Pat Scary at Towson, they had an incredible year, 16-2, and then they get beat in the semifinals. And it's interesting because I saw Pat a couple days ago, and he said, I'm trying so hard to make sure my kids understand that 16-2 over 4 months is better than 1-1 in 2 days. So for you to have double dipped like that, it really is a testament to what you've got going on there, because it's incredibly hard to do, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. You have to be consistent first and foremost all throughout the year in your own conference. And, this VCU team was, and George Mason was as well. You got to give them a ton of credit. They had an awesome year. And for those two teams to then, meet in the finals, and it's kind of a storybook, thing for the A-10. And, it's disappointing that we didn't get more teams in the tournament. For all of us that coach in this league, it's a storied league. And you see a lot of these other leagues getting multiple teams in, and, not that we're beating our chest or anything like that, but we feel like we can play with a lot of these teams around the country that are getting multi-bids. And if you watch those games in the tournament, in D.C., there's some heavyweight fights. Certainly our last two games, were, no doubt.
Well, the great equalizer always is the fact that, for the most part, some teams might get to play in their hometown, but no one's getting to play in their home arena. There aren't any home games. And to your point, VCU can go play in Seattle or Providence or wherever, and, the old story from Hoosiers, right? Baskets are the same, nets are the same, courts are the same. I think that's always the great equalizer in the tournament is there aren't any home games, and now we're going to just go see who has the better basketball team.
Yeah, no question, and we're matching up with an excellent team. Coach Young has done a great job in short order, of establishing his style. They're really fast. They're beautiful to watch on offense. They have really tall guys, at every position, and they're all skilled. They rebound the ball. You think of three-point shooting teams as just, one shot, they're out. They really crash the glass. And it's two teams that do the same thing. We do it as well. We are one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country as well. And so it's going to be an interesting, matchup with our defense their offense, and just looking forward, to tomorrow.
Coach, it's obviously we know it's a different era of college basketball, and you had a really interesting scenario play out before this season with your guy Max Shulga, who had decided to leave and committed to Villanova, and then changed. Are we at a place where like it's just, hey, this is just business? I understand, no hard feelings. Does it require? I know that's your guy going back years to Utah State. Does it require a conversation? Like, I think this is a fascinating learning point for a lot of us, as obviously he's such an important part of what you do. What did that look like, and how that all came about, and him ending back at VCU?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, maybe I'm naive, but the coach-player relationship, still needs to exist. This cannot become a transactional thing around the country. That's not good for college sports. That's not what it's built on, and certainly not what we're going to do, here. I consider myself very fortunate to have coached him now 4 years and watched him grow. I didn't even put him in a game, his first year until the end of the season, really. And he just continued to work, continued to get better, had a great attitude. And then the next year, he was ready to start and be a primary player in an NCAA tournament team. And that's continued here. He's continued to grow. First team all-conference last year, player of the year this year. But, I have a responsibility. All coaches have a responsibility to do what's right for the kids. And, there is, a lot of money involved in what's happening now for, kids that are high-level players like Max. And I think ultimately what it came down to, at the end when it was time for Max to go, is we sat and talked a lot about it, and what, I had to help him through that process. And, we sat down and talked a lot about it. And, ultimately it came down to when it was time for him to leave, it's like he felt like, I'm leaving my family right now. Why would I do that for 1 year? And, I think ultimately, he decided, that wasn't right for him. And, other kids around the country should look at that, and use it as an example, because it's not always, best, to go elsewhere. And there's certainly situations where it is right. We've got 2 on our team right now that it was right for them to come with us. Jack Clark was he would not have probably been, you never say never, but the ACC, tournament MVP. But he was the A10 tournament MVP. Mm-hmm. And he needed a place where he could go and elevate his game, and he's done that. Max didn't necessarily need that. And so I think you have to look at each situation and evaluate it as such. And we're certainly very fortunate. VCU is certainly very fortunate that Max decided to stay with us. Yeah. He's really close with my family. He's close with my kids, and certainly close with my wife. He's at our house all the time. And so, it's just it's what college sports should be about.
It's cool. It's a recruiting win for the Odom family. I love that. It's funny you bring that up, because I feel like there's all the hysteria, Coach, about how things have changed and how it's ruined the sport. Like I just wonder, it's obviously a different job than the job your dad had, than the job that you first had when you started doing this. But like what you just described sounds a lot like, yeah, but it's still about relationships too. Is it as hysterical and crazy as the loudest people in the room make it out to be?
Well, I mean, I think there's certainly situations that, it does get crazy. But I think we just have to continue to, and in our day and age, highlight, situations like this, where it does, match for both. And I guarantee you there are a ton of those situations out there that people aren't really talking a lot about. And, we're obviously really fortunate. And Max is not the only one, on our team. We wouldn't be in the position we're in right now had, Joe Bamasil decided to go to another place, right, or Zeb Jackson decided to go to another place, or Christian Furman or Michael Bell or Fats Phillips. Like, we've kept a lot of the guys. And that's one of the reasons continuity is important, in this day and age, and you're not always going to have it. But, this particular year, we did, and the guys that we added to the group, the freshmen plus the two transfers, have made this a really, really special year.
There's no question about it.
Coach, I don't know if you read the internet or not, but if you type your name in the search bar right now, some interesting stories are coming up.
You've been dealing with that for a few years. Can I ask it this way, Coach? How do you handle that with the players all have the internet, right? Do you have to have that conversation with them, or again, is it business-like where they just we've got a game. That's the only thing. It's tunnel vision. All we talk about is BYU. We don't even have to have that conversation.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, these guys are trying to do something special. We're all trying to do something special. So our total focus is on what's right in front of us right now. And we know we have a big challenge, against BYU. And we're in this moment right now. And why would we be thinking about anything else other than this moment, that we're in together? This team has been together since, call it May last year, right? Or late March, when we lost, in our last game out in Utah. And, we've added new players and we've had this journey together. And every team has one life to live. We say that every year. And you have one life to live, and let's make the most of it. And we're going to do that here at VCU, and as long as we possibly can. Because this team is so fun. They really are.
It's incredible, obviously, what you've been able to do there. And I know that was part of the reason why you went to VCU is because you knew what you could do there. Before we let you go, Coach, Ed DeChellis announced his retirement. I know you, as a guy who was living in Annapolis, and what it meant to you to come back and play in the Veterans Classic. Could you just give us a thought on Ed DeChellis, what he's meant to the sport and what he's meant to this region?
Yeah, you just told me something I didn't know. I'm so happy for Ed, and the impact that he's made on so many there. At the Naval Academy, and he's just been a great representative of our sport and of the kids, that he's coached. And, he's a good friend, and he's a close friend of my dad. One of my dad's former assistants, Ernie Nestor, worked for him as well when I first moved to Annapolis. And, unfortunately, like John Feinstein, we just lost him about 3 or 4 months ago. And, I couldn't say enough good things about Ed DeChellis and what he's meant to our game. And really appreciate him inviting us, each year to play over there at the Naval Academy. That's always a special time. But he deserves to move on to that next chapter, on his terms. And they were in the championship, right? Weren't they in the championship
just
year?
Last week they played American.
Yeah. I mean, that's big time. And obviously, I'm happy for AU and Dwayne. I coached over at American as well, but it would have been nice if he could have
gone out.
Could have won that one, but
right.
that would have been really cool. But what a great guy. Can't say enough good things.
I'm realizing we're going to do the Kevin Bacon game with Ryan Odom moving forward. Everyone in college basketball, we're within 6 steps of getting to Ryan Odom somehow, some way. There's no doubt. Coach, congratulations. Always appreciate you. Good luck as you guys make this run in the tournament. And thank you, as always, for spending time with us this morning.
Absolutely. Always love getting on the phone with you guys. You guys take care, okay?
Thanks, Coach. Coach Ryan Odom with us here on GCR. Ed DeChellis from Navy announced his retirement earlier today, so they will be in the market for a new head coach. But Ed DeChellis coached more games than any coach in Navy history, and indeed just had them in the Patriot League Championship game last week, where they lost to American. All right, so
how's he going to do in Charlottesville?
Right. Well, I was going to say if it was Virginia or Villanova, where would you go?
Should I call him back and ask him?
Yeah, he's going with a V.
He can't. And by the way, who knows if there isn't something else on the table that we just don't know about yet, right? Like, Ryan Odom has been connected to basically every job. Those are just the two.
Well, I guess here's what I would ask, and this is really a sign of the times.
Yeah, what's the budget?
Correct.
Right.
Where's there more money?
I think the word is there's a little more money at Villanova, maybe, just because there's no, like, they don't spend on their football program, so they kind of put everything towards basketball. Whereas Virginia's doing the same thing that Maryland's doing, where, like,
they want to do both, but not.
We're a basketball school, but we have to. We had this conversation.
We got to act like football matters, even though it really doesn't.
There is this fear right now. What's driving major football programs is the inevitable split that's coming, where the top programs are going to
Yeah, there's going to be 24 teams
and,
in the Super Division, and the rest of them are all
and
just
they're all
teams.
trying to make sure it's not 24, it's 40, it's whatever it is.
Right.
All of these
Can't leave Maryland out.
All of these programs are trying to position themselves to say, because that's where the money's going to be. If you don't get into that top tier, you're not going to get in on the TV payments.
I guess I would say, as it relates to the two Vs, the Virginia alumni base.
Oh, it's rich. Yes,
is extraordinarily wealthy.
Yes,
I would assume more wealthy than the Villanova alumni.
I would
base.
assume as well.
But I would also say that the general proximity of Villanova to New York City, the fact that you're, I know people don't say Philly is New York and New York is Philly, but they're pretty close, right? I mean, if you're in Philly, you're a hop, skip, and a jump away from being in New York City. I would assume that there are plenty of people in Manhattan that have Villanova ties who say to their best friends, hey, I know you didn't go to Villanova, but I'm trying to raise $20 million for the basketball program, and you've got $50,000 in your glove compartment. So I would think that the Virginia connections, the direct connections, might be more wealthy, but I would say that the tentacles of Villanova are probably deeper, if that makes sense. I don't know the answer. Like, you can, first of all, if you've ever been to Charlottesville before, the campus is
it's gorgeous,
out of this world.
Gorgeous, yeah.
Villanova, not so much. Obviously you're in a sports-centric city in Philadelphia.
You have more of an ability to become a personality. There's more branding available. Jay Wright is a far more well-known person than Tony Bennett is.
Correct. That's a great point. And I don't know where.
Now he also won 2.
I don't know where
Bennett
you go.
1.
I don't know. If you're at Virginia, you're at no matter where they finish, you're at a very, very high-level basketball program. No matter what, maybe this year they had a down year or whatever, but you're in a very, very high-level program. Same with Villanova. I think the question becomes, like, what would you be and I say using, I don't want anybody to think this is the wrong way to say this. When you're at UMBC, you're using that to go somewhere else.
More or less, yes.
Of course. You're not
unless you're in a really specific place in your life, right? Like, yes.
Yeah, if you're 60. But if you're a young basketball coach, you're using UMBC to go to Utah State. And if you're a young basketball coach, you're using Utah State to go to VCU. And if you're a young basketball coach, you're using VCU to do what Shaka Smart did, right? Once you get to Villanova, Virginia, I'm not sure you're using that to go anywhere.
No, that's the job.
You're there.
You're taking that job because it's your destination job.
Right. Like John Calipari didn't use Memphis to get to Kentucky. He got chased out of Memphis because he cheated. He didn't use Kentucky to go to Arkansas. They got tired of him at Kentucky. Like, if you're Ryan Odom and you go to Virginia or go to Villanova, you could be there for 20 years.
The goal is this is my last job.
Yeah, probably.
That's the goal, right? It might not work out
unless
that way,
you don't do well, and then you got to go to St. Louis University.
Right, whatever it is.
But
the goal is you're taking that job because it's the last job I want to have in basketball, 100%.
I kind of, I don't know, man. I feel like if you said to me, pick one of the two, I'd take Towson.
Right, no, that's the job.
I would take I think I would take Virginia.
You could go either way.
Yeah, you could really go either way on this one.
I'll go to Virginia.
And I think I would lean towards Villanova, which has obviously become interesting in this world where there's all these rumors about Villanova being interested in Kevin Willard, where if somebody asked me the same question, Maryland or Villanova, and if you asked me that question 3 years ago, you couldn't even finish the question before I would say Villanova. Now it is interesting to me if you're Kevin Willard and there's a nice juicy offer on the table for you from Villanova.
Can we drive him up there?
Why would you hate Kevin Willard?
I'm kidding.
You're the turtle head guy.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, right.
It is interesting you would say that, right? 5 years ago,
My God, there couldn't be a
if
greater
Villanova
disparity.
called and said,
Yeah.
"Hey, Kev, you want to stay in College Park? You want to come up here?" You'd be like,
Get me out immediately.
I'll get on the train right now."
But and this is also
and
the
now I'm
interesting-
not so sure.
It's the other interesting part of the Villanova Virginia thing, where the money comes into play in this next era of basketball, the revenue or of college sports, the revenue share era, where allegedly they're going to go to policing NIL. Because now the money is going to be coming.
Sure.
I understand. But the money is supposed to be far more even. Because
Get the NBA corner ready, by the way, because I got to get going soon.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's the revenue share era where there's $20 million. Each school has it. You can spend as much
It's a
as
salary cap.
It's essentially, but they're going to choose, right? Like the word is that Maryland is going to have a certain number that's going to be dedicated to football, a certain number that's going to be dedicated to men's basketball. That they're not. Hey, let's see how football's doing, and maybe we get. They're saying we're going to have hard numbers that we're going to spend on each program.
Do you think it helps Kevin Willard? And I'm not saying this between Maryland and Villanova. It could be anywhere. That other people that are interested in him. Do you think it helps him that so many of the programs in College Park are good? Meaning, when I say helps him, do you think that makes him look at Maryland differently, or does he not care?
I would say mostly doesn't care. But it's a funny. I've heard
I'll use an example. They have their women's basketball program is
always
whatever you want to say,
yes.
good,
always,
right?
Always
good
yeah.
/ very good.
Yep.
The lacrosse program
is the best. Yes.
One of the top 5 in the country annually, right? Program. I'm not.
Yes.
I'm just talking wins and
They don't
losses.
win the title every year.
Kids want to go play lacrosse at Maryland.
Yes.
And when John Tillman's in your house,
yeah,
that means something.
You're everything you're doing is try to get an offer.
8 years ago, it didn't, but it means something now. When the women's lacrosse coach is in your living room, it means something. When the women's soccer, the women's field hockey coach,
and of course you know the names of these people are.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a good coach. But when Sasha Swarovski's in your
Reese is the women's lacrosse coach.
When Sasha Swarovski's in your living room,
yes, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Won a lot of national championships.
So I do wonder a little bit if none of that mattered, and if Maryland was just Maryland's got a really good basketball program, the rest of the sports are nondescript. I wonder if that's different for him as it relates to his life on the campus, in the stadium, talking to other coaches.
We don't have.
Is there a and I would go Calvert Hall. I'm using my own experience. Right. I know every coach over there. Some of them I see more than I see others because sometimes our sports, like Dave Mast and I, don't see one another that much because tennis and golf are at the same time. I see David Gately all the time because his season is in the middle of when we're working out. I see David all the time. I would see Josh Ward all the time.
Sure.
I see Brooks Kerr a little bit. I see Rich Zinkin, the soccer coach, all the time. Like, I'm galvanized, me, at Calvert Hall, when I go over there on a Friday night and I watch the lacrosse team beat Lawrenceville in double overtime, I'm galvanized by that.
There is a common conception.
Does that make sense?
It's a rising tide. Like that if the top programs are really good, that benefits all of the other programs. Because now, to your point, if a kid's thinking about coming and playing golf, the excitement of, and you can go to a football game on a Friday night, and it matters, and you can go to on the flip side, there is debate about how much the other way it helps. Because a lot of those places would say, a lot of these coaches, if you really put the truth in it, would say, why are we wasting resources on that? Every dollar that this department...
Every dollar you give the women's field hockey team is a dollar less than you're giving me.
Exactly right. Could go there.
Okay.
So I would almost then rather...
I
can't say it out loud, but I'd almost rather them be bad because then you're less inclined to invest resources into those programs, and all of those resources could move towards me.
I could see that too.
One of the interesting
could go
things,
either way.
Yeah, it could go either way. One of the interesting things about the Maryland thing is I've heard that Kevin Willard's one of the people that says, why are we so obsessed with football? We're a basketball school. We have the ability to be a year in, year out powerhouse. Why are you so inclined to give so much of your NIL budget towards football? Just accept that you're not a football school.
And here's what I would
be on with.
And here's what I would say to that. where I would probably agree with him. This would be different, and I got to come up with a school that fits this. This would be different if there was a history of really good football at Maryland, and if they fell off the map.
Right, Nebraska.
That's a perfect one. Mm-hmm. That's a perfect one. Yep. Once upon a time, my father's Nebraska was
dominant
every Saturday, 3 o'clock. They're going to beat you 20-13, and they're going to punch you in the mouth. Nebraska football, right? I think Notre Dame went through that for a while.
A little while.
But Nebraska football is a good one.
I don't think Notre Dame ever fell off the way that Nebraska has fallen off.
And I'll tell you another one that was very similar might have been USC. There was once upon a time, USC was awesome. Well, now, USC, you can understand where USC would say, hey, dude, once upon a time we were phenomenal.
Right.
Let's get back to that.
Right.
Maryland was never that. I mean, they had the one
1950s
Ralph Friedgen thing.
Yeah,
but I mean,
correct.
So I do see that. Like, why wouldn't you just say, dude, if we go 4-9, 4-8 every year, we go 4-8. Who gives a damn?
It's just that we have football games. That's all. All we need to do is have some games.
But then when you say that, then when you do say that, then when you say, look, here's what we want from you, Coach Clark.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want anybody, mooning people on the team bus. We don't want anybody getting busted for weed at the airport. We want the kids to have good grades. We don't need any police blotter garbage. And if you go 3-9, we really don't care.
Right.
Then what are you doing?
Right. What is the point?
Then what are you doing?
The point? Exactly.
So
right.
just close it.
Yep.
Right? So there is that dichotomy of...
And again, right now with the fear of, and you're going to be kicked out of the party. And that's the biggest thing that's driving places like Maryland, is we're going to kick you out, and the money that you get off of these TV deals that you have nothing to do with. Maryland has nothing to do with why the Big Ten is valuable in TV, football-wise.
Correct. They couldn't care less.
They're going to get their part of it.
$52 million or whatever
and
they get.
And they want to make sure they stay a part of that. They can't lose it.
And I guess the other thing would be, and this is, we could do this for hours about NIL. One of the things that's not good about the NIL, which is why they are considering this hardline, whatever you want to call it, cap, is it is going to become Major League Baseball. And it is going to become the team that spends $50 million on football players is just the team that's going to win. It is going to become that. And if you're not willing to spend 50 and you're only willing to spend 10, the only teams you're going to beat are the ones that spend 10.
Well, it hasn't helped Texas yet. They haven't been able
I understand, but
I know what you're saying.
But in general, it is still, this is the one undeniable thing about sports for the most part.
Yes.
The team that spends the most money generally acquires the best players.
That's normally the way to
generally, they are then the ones that have the best chance to win.
Other than the Mets 2 years ago.
Right.
But other than that, yes.
Right. But even then, that the Mets were good again last year. Like
Correct.
We put layers on this, right? Only one team wins at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And the Dodgers have spent as much as anybody, and they've only won it one time. Two, if you count the COVID thing, which I don't count.
It's not real.
But you've got to be able to spend money on these kids. I don't like it. I've never liked it, but I get it. It is what it is. But you've got to be able to spend money on them. And if you don't spend money on them, they're not coming.
So Maryland or Villanova, what are you doing? You still haven't answered the question.
I would tell you, now this just might be me, and now this might be me from a coaching standpoint. Mm-hmm. I would take Maryland.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
Okay.
I think there's and this is not germane to the topic at all, but there is something about Maryland, and I'm not going to name these kids. There are 3 kids at Calvert Hall, 3 kids that I know that all got into Ivy League schools and didn't get in. Changed over the years too. This is the truth. In 1980, Maryland would come and set up a table at Glen Burnie,
and
say,
"Yeah, let's go. Yep.
You want to sign right now? Yep. You can come to College Park." Like, there is something really special going on at Maryland as an entire institution.
So you'd rather be there than be at Villanova?
Yeah, I just think that there is something bubbling down there that is really interesting to see, except for football, which is bizarre. But that's bizarre,
it's
right?
It's never changing, and it's never changing. It's the way it goes.
Well,
right.
For me, I'm
I don't think so. Let's
P1
do it.
Turtlehead.
Let's do the thing so we can get out of here.
Got a good one this week.
Oh, I'm sure. I can't wait. A listener request this week. It's time for NBA Corner with Drew Forrester. Don't forget the print issue of Press Box is available right now at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. David Rubenstein is on the cover. Lengthy sit-down that Stan and I had with the owner of the Orioles. That is the print issue of Press Box. All right, what's going on in the association?
All right, well, the Cavaliers had a 16-game winning streak snapped by by Orlando, who was getting 8.5 and won 108.
I was like, how would he know that?
And won 108 to 103. Pancho Ranchero, whatever his name is, had
he got it.
Had a lot of points in that game, and that's one of the reasons why Orlando won.
Name another player.
Orlando, let me do
Name another Magic.
Can I please do this?
Do me a favor. Name another Magic.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Thank you.
Can I do my
by
segment?
All means,
Orlando has some really nice players.
Yeah.
And a nice coach.
And high expectations.
And there was a lot of expectations about that.
Yeah, you expect that.
Elsewhere in the East, the Wizards continue to lose. Not a great year for them. Not a lot was expected of them. They've had some injuries, but the Wizards are
a recent injury that I really think might set them.
But the Wizards,
I got a bad feeling the Corey Kispert injury might really hurt.
But the Wizards are hanging in there, and I tell you what they do, and I'll give them credit. They show up every night.
That's a good point. They're
do.
there. I don't think they've missed
the
a game all season.
Celtics are also hanging around, and look. Here's what I'll say about the Celtics.
Yes,
there's some. They could win some games.
They could
in the future.
They might.
The Celtics could be a tough out.
Could win a big one.
If they get a couple of their guys back. They could be a tough out. They got a really, really good coach.
That's a good
up in
point.
Boston.
They do.
And the Pistons, remember last year, the Pistons won like 4 games.
Right.
They've won a lot more this year.
They have.
And exceeding expectations, I think some would say.
Yeah.
And a potential playoff team, even.
They begin right now.
And here's the thing. You don't want to go to Detroit.
You don't.
Right.
In general. Just in general, you don't want to go to Detroit.
Over in the West.
When he's right, he's right.
LeBron is still rubbing his groin.
Right.
But it's going to be better.
Yeah.
At some point soon.
Uh-huh.
And the Lakers with Doncic on their team have been better. And they've had some injuries too.
Right.
But I would say the Lakers.
What about their coach?
They have a nice coach. Tell you what, one of the best shooters in the history of college basketball.
He knows one of the names of the coaches.
And
how many active NBA coaches could you name?
Well, the one had a stroke.
Right.
And there was a huge article written about him. If you missed it, it was a very nice piece in ESPN.com.
Right.
Quiet as it's kept, Greg Popovich had a stroke.
Yes.
And not a lot of people wanted to talk about that. But
I think everybody knows that.
And they've got the Wemben Victor dude or whatever his name is.
Yep,
they got him and could get another top pick. And if they get another top pick, the Spurs could be a tough team in a couple years.
Yeah, that's
I'm
a
not
good
talking
point.
about Tottenham.
Right. No, the San Antonio Spurs. It's sort of the Houston method.
So, and then Steve Kerr, of course, another great coach.
So you've named 3 active NBA head coaches.
Pretty good.
Do you think you could get the 5?
Yeah, well, Doc Rivers has got to be somewhere.
Yeah. All right. You know what?
He's got to be coaching some team.
I can't take it away from him.
He's got to be coaching.
Doc Rivers is indeed.
I don't know where, but I know he's coaching somewhere.
Son of a bitch. I have to give him that.
Oh man.
Do you want to guess? Do you want?
Where is he?
Yeah.
Where's Doc Rivers? Milwaukee.
Holy crap!
It's NBA Corner with Drew.
I know. I'm sorry. Name a fifth. You got
that accurate?
It's accurate. Name a fifth. Name one other.
One other coach?
Yeah.
Oh, I could do that. Hell.
Come on.
Oh, come on. Be serious.
I'm being
All right,
serious.
So elsewhere in the West.
Yeah. Name it. Name one.
John
other.
Stockton.
No, unfortunately, John Stockton's not currently.
He's not coaching?
No, he's not.
Oh.
There is a Hall of Fame point guard who is a coach, though.
Oh, that's who I meant. I'm serious. That's who I meant. Totally.
You meant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dude from Dallas.
Uh-huh.
With the ponytail.
I don't think he has a ponytail.
Well, used to. The hell's his name?
What is his name? Hall of Fame point guard.
Oh, my God, with the lazy eye.
Coaches in Dallas.
Yeah. Jason Kidd.
Hey!
All right. So anyway, there's a lot of good. Let me tell you, there are some teams in this West that can win some games.
There are some teams in the West that can win.
And are
Now,
not to be toyed with.
What did they do when they played earlier this year? That's the real question.
Well, not to be toyed with, though. And if you think you're just going to go in there and run roughshod over Oklahoma City or Denver, it's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
So just be on alert.
Be on alert.
And the same in Phoenix.
They're only a game back.
Yeah, they're starting to make a move.
Yeah, well.
And they've got Durant.
They do.
And, you know.
Go ahead, name another.
You got to be ready to face them.
Name another son.
They got.
Go ahead. Name another son.
What was the guy? Barkley.
Yeah, all right.
Barkley. Who was the other guy? Who was the other little point guard dude that played down there?
Kevin Johnson?
No,
Steve Nash.
Steve Nash.
Yeah, Steve Nash.
Marty Stoudemire,
two-time MVP.
All right, so anyway, there is a lot. This is an exciting.
It is.
Last 6 weeks, 4 weeks.
What did we actually learn in this segment?
Well, you learn about the Cavaliers not being able to.
Rivers is in Milwaukee.
Yep,
that's a good point.
And you learn that the Cavaliers didn't cover.
There's a current NBA head coach who is a two-time champion as head coach of the team that he currently coaches. Can you name that coach?
There is a current coach.
Yes, current active NBA head coach who has won 2 NBA titles with the team that he currently coaches.
Well, it's got to be Steve Kerr.
Steve Kerr has won 4.
Oh, you mean just won 2?
He's won 2.
Just won 2.
Just won 2. 2.
Well, I mean, how can that? Pat Riley?
Well, Pat Riley is not currently. He's not coaching.
No, how can that be?
Yeah, how could that be? That's a good question.
Is it the Celtics coach?
It's not. He's won 1.
So how can that
Do
be?
you know his name?
Yeah, he got nailed for
watches the town all
he got nailed for having a little thing with the secretary.
It's not the. That's the previous.
They let him go. Yeah.
What? Who is it?
The head coach of the Miami Heat.
Oh, Spoelstra.
Eric Spoelstra. Look at you. Look at you.
You know why I know Eric Spoelstra?
Yeah. Why?
This is a true story. His brother. You can look this up if you don't believe me.
I believe you.
No, look it up.
All right, fine. I'll look
His brother wrote a book that became the Bible for the sports ticketing industry.
Oh, how about that?
His brother wrote a book called How to Sell the Last Seat in the House. Look that up. Now you want to learn something?
I'll link it up.
Sure.
You want to learn something? Now I'm going to teach you something.
Oh, you're going to teach me something.
Look up the name of that book, How to Sell the Last Seat in the House. And it was by John Spoelstra.
I believe you.
That's his name.
Thank you. Now the book, you might not
NBA coin.
You can't buy the book. You had to buy it from him directly. He would come and do a seminar, but the book was phenomenal.
How about that?
The book was incredible. His brother is a basketball coach for.
There was a listener question.
Yes, but this comes from Lucas, currently out in Seattle, actually, and he.
I bet it's beautiful out there today.
And he.
Let me guess, rainy and 44.
Probably right.
Which is what it always was when I went out there.
And so there was
wood.
Carmelo Anthony was on his podcast this week, and he was calling for Kevin Durant he wants him to come back to DC and help finish the rebuild with the Wizards. He wants him to come home and help the Wizards finish off the rebuild. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, do you care about how much money you got to overpay him to get him to come?
I feel like you should, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know enough about the way the cap works in the NBA.
Oh boy.
What?
The one fact that, unfortunately, we're gonna have to do a WL thing for you.
Okay, go ahead.
John Spoelstra is Eric Spoelstra's father.
Same thing.
It's not. You said it was his brother.
Oh, I did. Okay.
Yeah, it's not his brother.
It's his dad.
So do we have a WL for?
Oh, and 1.
You're gonna have to put an L on that one.
But think about
pretty
all
good
the other
little
wins
tidbit, right? How to sell the last seat in the house.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
His brother.
I would say yes to Durant, knowing that you're getting 70% of him. He isn't coming to D.C. and trying if they're only going to win 27 games. He's just not. He doesn't care. He's going in the Hall of Fame. He's made enough money. What's he care? Would I bring him in, though, and try to get, squeeze the last 2 years of good basketball out of him? Yeah, sure. But you're getting a guy that, by and large, is in the November of his career. You're not.
I mean, he's still been very good, but I get it. I understand exactly what.
I just don't think he's like Aaron Rodgers. He's not coming there and putting in the Aaron Rodgers effort of old because he doesn't have the ability to do that anymore. So, anyway, yeah, sure, bring him in.
All right.
Where's he going, by the way? Pittsburgh?
Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
I don't know at this point, if Minnesota's legitimate about, we're just letting J.J. McCarthy be our quarterback, which always made the most sense, then yeah, I think that's the case. So also, so you're saying, is he asking for 2 years from now when he's a free agent, or is he suggesting they trade for him?
I think the way Carmelo was talking about it is that, trade for him, get him now.
That's a bad idea.
I would agree.
I would
agree with that.
Watch what the Rockets are doing. Watch what the Thunder did. Keep all of your assets. Draft. Now, the Wizards are going to screw it up, and this is the unfortunate part. They're going to screw it up. Like, that's just the reality of it. But, if there are
everybody's holding on for Bragg.
Yeah, old Bragg down there.
Everybody's holding on for him.
That's the guy they're hoping to get.
He's a nice player.
Yep.
And, I mean, he can go.
Really a nice player. But sometimes on and off, Sometimes
hot and cold.
Sometimes his good games, sometimes his bad games. Yeah.
But he is the Bragg kid is a nice player.
Bragg is something else. Drew'sMorningDish.com. I'm assuming no golf show this week because of the tournaments.
What? Really? Well, I'm not here anyway. I'm in Williamsburg with the golf team.
There you go.
No golf show.
No golf.
I thought Drew was going to have guests lined up for this time.
Good to see. Good to see it. Yeah, right? Like he's ready to go. He's like, I had Phil Mickelson calling in this week.
Fairways and Greens coming back in April.
Well, yeah.
April.
That's when it's going to be.
Right.
That's when it's going to be. All right, pal. Thank you. Appreciate you. We come back in. Brenda Frese is going to join us. And then I want to talk about Kobe Mayo. That's coming up next. Glenn Clark Radio.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Glenn Clark and I sit down for a Q&A with Orioles owner David Rubenstein, discussing what he learned from his first year as owner, his goals both on and off the field, and his involvement in baseball decisions. Also inside, Brooks DeBose profiles new Oriole Tyler O'Neill, and we meet college lacrosse players from around the state. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Wednesday edition of the program. Thanks to Drew Forrester for getting in the bracket contest. Good guy, Drew Forrester. We're at, I think, 37, so I still need 13 people. Let's go. Let's go. Tell someone. Colson, don't you have a kid that should be in the bracket contest? Come on. What is that with shoulder shrug? What is that? Nobody cares about. Nobody knows. No one can name 5 players in the NCAA tournament. I can. Yeah, maybe Maryland. Nobody can name 5 non-Maryland players in the NCAA tournament. I'm so infuriated whenever somebody says this to me. But the point is, now you will.
I'll watch some good games.
That's the point. Is that now when you do this, you'll have a reason to care. Oh my God.
What are you going to be doing? What are you going to be doing tomorrow afternoon?
I'm trying to get people to get into the bracket contest, and this is what I get from John Cole.
Yeah, right.
Well, how about maybe you show a little spirit?
I did. I gave you $20.
I
entered
that.
the bracket pool.
And
that spirit.
And tell your son
and
to get in.
I'll pay attention.
Tell your
pay
son
some
to get
attention.
in. Tell him to get in. All right?
He's so broke, I'll have to pay the $20.
Isn't he getting married? Isn't he?
That one? Yeah. You're right. That's
what I'm talking about. Tell him to get in the bracket contest.
He should have paid mine.
100%. I heard he's doing
making more money than I
doing well.
His
So tell him to get in.
His fiancée, he does better than
that's
all of us put together.
This was the son I was referring to.
Yeah, that one.
Tell him to get in. All right?
I will suggest to him that he gets in. He couldn't care less about basketball.
I swear, I'm so sick of hearing about the couldn't care less about basketball thing. No one in this is a ringer. There are no ringers here. No one cares about. Yeah, Griffin. How many of these have you won?
I won the ball pick on that one time.
How many college basketball pools have you won?
This year will be the first.
Yeah, exactly right. We have no ringers here. You're not up against a bunch of nobody.
I could have put a blindfold
on
when I was picking yesterday.
That's fine. Yeah. So is everyone else.
Not you.
I don't know. I don't. I swear to God. I can't. I know Maryland. That's the list of teams that I know. I got Houston winning it all. I'm just telling you that right up, which guarantees they're out in round 2. Didn't who just told us yesterday they thought that they were losing at Gonzaga in the second round? Somebody just told us that. And I was
it Greenberg?
That would be devastating for me.
Was it Greenberg? I think
it was him or Ray Field or one of those guys.
Yeah.
I think of Alabama.
And I agree. I don't think.
That sounds like a good pick. Yeah. My God, I'm so
take
sick
UConn.
of.
They always
they win a lot. They win all the time. I'm so sick of somebody saying, "Oh, I don't really follow college basketball." Shut the F up.
I have Maryland winning their first 2 games. If that's of
I
any
do as well.
consequence.
Actually. I have Maryland winning their first 2 games and losing to Florida.
Yep.
Who do you have them losing to?
Colorado State.
Yeah, you and Dick Vitale. Knocked out by Colorado State. That's what you got.
UMBC in?
No, they didn't.
Oh, okay. So I can't
Mount
pick
St.
them
Mary's
to beat.
Made it.
Yeah, I know. I saw that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, didn't pick them.
Tell your son to get in.
I'll do that.
Tell friends. I need to fill this thing today.
How many do you need?
I need 50 total, and I'm at 37. I might really be at 40. I'm not sure. I got to do
I'll see if I can get him to jump in.
Yeah, get him in.
I'll do that.
All right? Tell people here. I'm going to send out an email.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Thank you. Anything else?
You could have sent an email out.
I might. I got a lot. It's a busy season for me.
Yeah, me too.
There's 70 lacrosse games each day somehow. I don't know how this works.
Some chili?
No, I'm all right.
You're calling every single one, yeah.
It's unbelievable. Oh, I keep going to my schedule. I'm like,
now
how do I have another game today?
That's a bracket I would fill out.
Lacrosse
bracket?
So
you know.
Yeah.
It'd be you and 3 of us.
Exactly. No, I get it. I get it.
All right, thank you.
Anybody paying attention to the Caps?
Not I. I mean, I hear that they what's
great game last night.
Yeah,
good for them.
It's a guy named Ovechkin.
Okay.
Did he score last night?
He did not.
You excited about national season or
that season? No.
Yeah. No.
No.
Well, you're a big DC guy.
I
figured you'd be a.
If I had a hockey option here, it would
Americans
be different.
in the NCAA
I mean,
tournament.
Maryland's basically a DC school.
What
so
does it
the
say
hell's
on their
the difference?
sweaters? What does it say?
What?
Whenever anybody does this bit, the Maryland more or less is in DC. What does it
No,
say?
no,
on,
I'm saying from
what
an
does it say
audience
on the
perspective.
sweater? What does it say across
Maryland.
the sweater? Maryland.
Maryland.
What state do you live in? What state do you pay taxes in?
Maryland.
Yes, it's
based
that
on that.
simple.
We should be rooting. Aren't the Redskins also in Maryland?
No. Does it say
Or, I'm sorry,
Maryland
the
on their
Commanders?
sweater? Does it say Maryland on their sweater?
No, but it doesn't say DC.
I understand. No, it does say Washington. It
Yeah,
does.
I guess it does.
Definitively.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
yeah, I forgot about
1,000%.
that.
It says Washington.
Forgot about that.
If they want to be the Maryland something, I'm a Maryland Whipsnakes guy.
Are you?
Yes.
I kind of like the Whip
Love the
Snakes,
Whip
too.
Snakes.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm not DC.
Yeah,
I'll
I
never
agree
be
with that, but I like
sorry.
the Caps.
Yeah, good for them.
I like the Caps.
They won a game against another hockey team
Yeah.
they played.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, anytime you can't go to a game again, John, let me know.
I'll do that.
Griffin feigns being a Capitals and
What do you
Wizards
mean feigns?
fan too. He,
Jakob Chychrun, I love the Caps. You know, all the guys.
All of them. Name
Connor
more.
McMichael. You know,
I couldn't tell. You could be making up names.
Connor,
I just be like, oh yeah, him. I couldn't
just go Connor Mick something.
I
plays
think Tom
hockey.
Wilson is still there. I
Yeah,
know
he
that,
is.
right?
Yes, he is.
Is Oshie still there?
He's throwing bombs.
Oh,
too.
she's hurt.
He's been hurt for the last 5 years, but yeah,
I mean, he's
Captain
out basically
America.
all year.
So
Yeah,
he's still beloved.
Yeah, but
who's
Tom
the-
Wilson is
who's-
actually playing better than he's
Loogie
ever been.
Thompson in goal. Yeah.
Who is it?
Logan Thompson.
Who's
Logan
amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
He is pretty
I've
good.
never
they
heard of
just
him
extended
in
him.
my
He stood
life.
on his
won,
head the
Never
other
heard
night.
of him.
Yeah.
I've never.
He won the Stanley Cup with the Knights. I don't know why they let him go, but
I thought Fleury was the goalie for the.
no, he
Knights,
was
wasn't
with. Or you know what? Was Logan Thompson there when they lost the first time? That was
I believe so,
that
but
might have been what it was.
and they all have two viable goalies. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything
So,
else?
anyway, no,
Get
not really.
get people in my contest. Thank you.
I
Thank you.
will.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Bye.
I'll stop being stressed about this and losing my mind about it.
So you need like 10 more people, basically.
More or less.
Yeah,
I need
okay.
10. I need 10 more
Okay.
people in this.
Okay.
Yes. And then
Cool.
then I can just move on with life.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is your wife in it?
No, I'm going to harass her about that today.
I think you should.
I am.
What about your kids?
I did agree that I would let my older son, but he's got to pay his own way. That's the thing.
Rough.
Let's make this abundantly clear. Those kids have more money than I do.
Well, yeah, I get it. But
What's
rough.
he gonna do with his winnings if he wins it?
Pokemon cards.
Wow.
After
That's a lot of Pokemon.
Legos. That's all.
After Glenn takes his VIG.
I swear to God, man. We had a whole conversation. My father makes me pay for every meal. Those kids will be paying for meals.
Dude, I may have a stack of Pokemon cards. Let me see if I have that. They would want that.
That's what they need is more Pokemon cards.
Yeah, well.
Christ. It's all my house is Pokemon cards and Legos. They're everywhere. they're in crevices somehow.
Wear
Like, I just-
shoes.
Yeah.
There's
Oh,
nothing worse than
not
stepping
a
on a
joke.
Lego.
All right, thank you. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
bye.
I had to do this a little bit earlier on because of her schedule, getting ready for the NCAA tournament. And always appreciate an opportunity to catch up with Brenda Frese right here on GCR. Coming up this Saturday afternoon in College Park, 4 o'clock, Maryland plays host to Norfolk State in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Joining us now, she is the head coach of the Terps, our friend Coach Brenda Frese, back with us now here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn. It's always great to chat with you. Thank you for taking the time, and congratulations on once again hosting in the NCAA tournament.
No, thank you so much. It's always the best time of year.
Coach, this has been a strange year, I guess would be the best way to say it, right? Like we talked back in January, and everything was going great. Then you have a couple of injury issues, and we knew how difficult that stretch of the schedule was. But I was really impressed by the mettle your team showed down the stretch. What did you learn about this group when they were faced with the adversity that they were faced with via injury and some of the setbacks that they took early on in this calendar year?
Yeah, I mean, it's some unfortunate timing, and when you talk about injuries and things beyond your control, and as we were getting ready to play 3 top 10 teams, and but, a lot of teams, I think, the wheels would have fallen off. They might have folded. But what I learned is just how resilient this team is. And, when they would have some setbacks, I mean, they were really competitive and really wanted to improve and get better. And I think you can see how they were rewarded with their body of work, with being, having the ability to host a top 16 seed and being able to host here at Xfinity for the NCAA tournament.
How important was that end of the regular season win over Ohio State? It's like a statement of, for everything that we've been through, this is what we're still capable of doing.
Yeah, our conference prepares us. We get to play the best of the best every single night. And, really for us, our finish when we went to Indiana on their senior day to be able to go in there. It was a place where, we hadn't won in Cheyenne Sellers' career. So it was great as a senior to be able to get that win for her, and then to be able to come back and have that thrilling overtime win against Ohio State, a top 10 team. Really gave us a lot of confidence, and shows when we're, clicking on all cylinders. And, we have a very small margin for error, I'll say that, where with us being so thin on our roster now, we've got to have everyone show up.
Coach, obviously on the flip side, of course, it didn't go so well in the Big Ten tournament. There were a couple of games that got away from you. is it as simple as what you just put it out to? Like, if we make mistakes, we don't have the depth to be able to overcome that. Is there a bigger, like a connective tissue that you've been able to figure out about when this team is able to play their best basketball and when some of these have gone the wrong way?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it is a very thin margin. When we went to the Big Ten tournament, we had lost another starter with Sailor Poffenberger, who had went down with a high ankle sprain. So again, makes it even more taxing when you have kids, if they get into early foul trouble in a game or are limited from a production end. So for us, it's the stars have got to align. We've got to have the most disciplined type of game, and we have to have everyone show up on both ends of the floor. And especially now, everybody can play. Everybody has had very successful seasons, and but fortunately for us, we've had a lot of battles in conference play to prepare us for what lies ahead.
She is Coach Brenda Frese. She's with us here on GCR as they're getting ready for the NCAA tournament. I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't ask where Sailor's at this point going into the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 weeks have been great. I mean, she's back practicing for us, and that's a big relief because she stretches the floor for us. She's a dynamic, versatile player that allows us to be able to have depth. It's allowed Cheyenne Sellers through her injury to get a lot stronger through that. She's been impacted through that just you play so many games in season. So this stretch has been really good for us, and hopeful for what lies ahead now in the tournament.
What again, to get this team to play consistently, which is obviously what's going to require to make the run that I know you all want to make. Is there a way to define what it's going to take over the course of the next few weekends in order to get that best version that, as you pointed out, you saw in those Indiana and Ohio State games?
Yeah, well, I love that it's not back-to-back games. I mean, you have a day in between.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly you have to take care of business, and it's one game at a time. You win, you advance. You lose, your season's complete. And so for us, it's staying true to who we are with our identity, being able to defend, rebound, and run. I mean, that's who we've been all season long, and we have to be able to stick to that and be able to execute our game plan.
Kayleen Schmeichel has been, just what the doctor ordered, exactly what your program needed. I don't know if there's a better phrase for using it. How critical, as you were going through, losing Bree and, Cheyenne's injury, everything like that, how critical was it to have sort of that steadying force and someone that you could count on night in and night out the way that she was delivering? Yeah,
I mean, I'm so happy for Kayleen, and what an impact she's made coming into our program, being our leading scorer, first team All Big Ten conference honoree, and she's brought so much to the table, not only from a scorer's mentality, but just the ability to be able to defend, be able to really do what anything that's asked of her. She's a tremendous competitor and winner, and she's playing in her first NCAA tournament, and we're really excited to have her with us.
The big man, I remember we talked at the beginning of the season. I was so excited about the path that Mira McClain had taken to end up back here at Maryland, but you ended up having to rely on her for some real minutes as the season went on. How much of a boost did that end up being?
Yeah, I love that Mira's, put her head down and gone to work and stayed the course. And, it's a long season. You try to prepare your players that anything can happen. And what I love about Mira is she is always constantly working behind the scenes. And, she's clearly an elite level, athletic rebounder, defender, just a, ferocious competitor. And so, it has been awesome to be able to see, just the impact, the motor. Once we lost Bree McDaniel, you have another player who has a high motor that, wants to come in and make an immediate impact.
Coach, the hosting thing, right? Like I say, how big of a deal is it? Like, I think that seems like a very obvious question. Everybody would rather be playing games at home, right? But for this program, and particularly, how things, we had talked obviously at the beginning of the year about the fact that last year the tournament, it didn't go the way that you all wanted it to go. how much of a relief was it? Excitement? Well, I don't know what the word would be when you got the news that indeed you were going to be a top 4 seed and you were going to have that opportunity to host.
Yeah, gratitude, first of all. I mean, it's our 16th time being able to host in Xfinity, and, where we have the greatest fans in the country who have been top 10 in attendance all year. It allows you within that bracket, to, within your seating and how teams are placed. You don't have to get on a plane or a bus. And like last year, we had to fly to California, and, you get to sleep in your own beds and have your own routine, and then be able to have your family and friends come out to the game. And, we've always drawn well. I think almost, a lot of our reserve seats are almost sold out, and people can come out for, less than a movie and come out and see 2 great games for $20 and be able to send these seniors out the right way.
It's an awesome way to spend a Saturday. There's no question about that. Your opponent, I think a lot of people will look on paper and say, it's Norfolk State, no problem. I don't know that people realize how good this Norfolk State team is that has power conference wins this season and battled with some other teams, including Green Bay, who I know is right there in that mix. And then Diamond Johnson, who, of course, came from NC State and is a really good player. This is probably not – the excitement of being a 4 seed is significant, but this is a pretty tricky 13 seed that you're going up against.
Yeah, it really is. And you see the success that they've had, the winning streak that they're on, to beat 2 SEC teams in the regular season. This is a team that is confident, that's used to winning, that is fearless. And so for us, we respect every opponent that we're going to play, and we're going to have to come out and be ready to play. Diamond Johnson is Player of the Year in our conference for a reason. And nowadays with the transfer portal, you're seeing these senior-laden rosters that have so much experience and Power 4 players on the roster. So a team we're not taking lightly, a team we have a lot of respect for, and we've got to come out and put a complete 40 minutes together.
Is that something you have to talk about, or given, this is Maryland basketball, like that, it's just known? Like, you don't have to spend more time, saying, hey, forget about the little number. Like, your players know that if you get into the NCAA tournament, that this is a team that we have to take seriously.
Yeah, they grew up watching the NCAA tournament, and, the hosting, the number, the seating in front of your name really doesn't guarantee you anything. You got to go out and you've got to go earn the right to win and to advance.
There's no doubt about that. Coach Brenda Frese, this is obviously, we talk about the standard that you've set here in Maryland. It's a big deal to be playing games. This is the way it's supposed to be. So we're very excited about the fact that you all are at home and getting ready for this Saturday afternoon, 4 o'clock, Maryland and Norfolk State in College Park, and you want to get down to Xfinity Center to support the Terps. Coach, always appreciate you taking the time for us. Best of luck this weekend and moving forward. Thanks for hopping on and spending a couple of minutes with us this morning.
Yeah, always great to be on. Really, really appreciate it, and go Terps.
It's Brenda Frese with us here on GCR as they get ready for the start of the NCAA tournament. 2 things I want to discuss, and we're still going to get to Conor Spagnolli from Towson before we wrap up. Number 1, there have been some proposals that have been made for rules changes around the NFL. 3, apparently, that are going to be considered this year. The first comes from the Green Bay Packers, and it is more or less a proposal to ban the tush push. Opposed. It's as cowardly as it gets. I've heard there's no data that shows us anything about injuries, so trying to use health, we just don't have that. The argument of it being non-competitive, I mean, it's competitive. It's as competitive as you figure it out to be, and every team has the equal right to use it. And if you've just decided that you're not interested in using it, that's your business. As we've talked about before, I get infuriated anytime now that you're in some sort of short yardage situation that you don't just say, Run it twice. Run it 3 times. Why are you doing anything else other than a tush-push? It makes no sense. Any short yardage situation, just run it. Simple. And if you can't execute it the way the Eagles can, then get better at it. Now, this is where people say, yeah, but it's not football. I want plays that have greater chance and greater risk and greater... Don't get in 3rd and 1. I'm opposed to it. I am. Now, for the sake of entertainment, will the league make an argument that they try to push owners on that, like, it's just not an entertaining play and we need to value entertainment over competition? I mean, that's the only argument that can be made. The only way to start this conversation to just say, this has nothing to do with football, it's chicken-esque that we would do this from a football standpoint. We just want to better the entertainment value of the sport. And we don't think this is an entertaining play. Now, would somebody say, okay, then ban teams taking knees at the ends of games? Why does no one ever ask for that to be banned? It's non-competitive play, right? You take a knee, there's no chance. The other team can't do anything about it. Why don't you demand that team hands the ball off instead? So there's at least a chance they might have the ball stripped out. I'm opposed. But I will listen. The only argument is if you acknowledge it's a nonsensical football discussion, that its only value in discussing it is about entertainment and improving the entertainment of the game. And it's farcical, but I would at least listen to, at least, again, there would be something genuine about it. As Drew Forrester brought up about John Feinstein, it would be an authentic conversation about the tush-push, but I'm opposed. The other two, to me, are about as big a no-brainers as possible. And I feel like when Steve Johnson and I have had the what do we call that segment? Let's fix sports, or let's whatever it is.
Yeah, Stephen Glenn.
Yeah, fix sports.
Yeah.
We've gone 2 separate ways on this. The one that we inherently agree on, apparently proposed by the Lions, no longer would give an automatic first down for a defensive holding. In complete agreement. Somebody's backed up 3rd and 20. There's a 5-yard defensive holding. They get a first down out of it. Absolutely. Without question. Without question.
Who proposed that one?
The Lions.
Oh, okay.
Get rid of it. Oh, my God. Everything in the sport. This is the argument that everybody always makes about the stupid fumble rule that Steve and I have thought about. The argument people make about the stupid fumble rule is, well, there has to be a penalty because everything benefits the offense. Something has to benefit the defense. How about this one that doesn't make sense to begin with? It's a 5-yard penalty. I've got no problem with a 15-yard penalty, even though it's 3rd and 20. If you commit a major infraction, that gives an automatic first down. No problem. A 5-yard penalty, including an automatic first down, is nuts. Get rid of it. Favor. Thumbs up. The other one is one that I have been screaming about for years. It's that there is no world in which a mediocre division winner should be guaranteed a home playoff game. And that once you pick the playoff teams, they should then be seeded by record.
Oh, that was the Lions too, right?
Yes.
We're just letting the NFC North run the NFL now? Is that
it is weird that they all I don't know if they're the designated survivors or something like this. Like we need you guys to be the one to speak on behalf of everybody else. 1,000%. By the way, the Lions aren't even the team that were hurt by it last year, right? Like it was the Vikings that were hurt by it last year. So it's kind of funny that that's the case. Absolutely. Apparently, there's one other rule that the Eagles put out there, and let me talk about that in a second because I think I agree.
It was to keep the tush push, right? That was
no, it was an overtime related rule. I guess these are just trickling in, like the first 3 came out, and then
Eagles.
The Eagles
change overtime rules. All right, hold on, I have it.
To align the postseason and regular season overtime rules by granting both teams an opportunity to possess the ball, regardless of the outcome of the first possession, subject to a 15-minute overtime period in the regular season. Yes.
So you can go for 2, and you're up by 8. The other team gets a chance at the ball.
Whatever it is, both teams will see the ball in overtime. Yes. It's a football game. Yes. Yes, Queen. Yes. This is so easy. And for 2 reasons. One, because why we ever changed to try to create more ties. It was bonkers they ever moved it to 10 minutes. Bonkers. I'll never in my life on the line. Hiding behind the idea of it was about playoff safety or player safety. Yes, because 5 minutes of overtime is going to be what makes that difference. Clearly. Stop it. It's so stupid. So inherently stupid. But the other part of it is that, yes, obviously both teams should see the ball. Clearly. And that's part of you changed the rules. You made it this thing where they're like, well, both teams have a chance to do something. Your defense can get a stop. But the NFL knows they inherently it's not a 50-50 proposition. Every time an offensive touches the ball, because of the way the rules are written and adjudicated, they have a 65-35 edge. Something in that neighborhood. Both teams need to see the ball. Plain and simple. Both teams need to see the ball. And then the other one was to amend I said to allow wild card teams to be seated higher than division champions if a wild card team has a better regular season record. Which, again, doesn't mean that it's just the 7 teams with the best record that get into the playoffs. It still matters to win your division. If you're in a bad division but you win it, you still get in. Even if you're 8-9, and that means that a 10-7 team misses out. Yes. You still get in. And I'm fine with that. Even though inherently I don't really think you're good enough, but I get it. That allows for divisions to matter and makes sure that the division games matter, and that's important because the league wants the division games to matter. Now, does it make for example, if you're playing a big late season game against the Steelers or the Bengals, and one of you currently holds the 1 seed and the other of you currently holds the 2 seed, it takes a little bit of the juice out of it because there's such a penalty in the current rule system to the team that loses that game means everything. Whereas it might very well be that next year you say if the only difference is the 1 or the 2 seed, but it's still significant. You're going to get a bye or not. Or you're going to host the AFC Championship game or not. Yes. The other 3 are slam dunks to me. I can't believe we even have to debate them. The first one is dumb, but I could see it happening anyway. The other
Do
3,
any of these actually pass? Let's. How much?
Everybody always says there's no juice to the playoff thing. Like the owners are happy with it. Like I don't understand why. I really don't. I don't understand why the owners like the. I think in their mind, it makes every divisional game more important that there's a home playoff game guaranteed for the division winner. But
I mean, yeah, that one seems like they're probably gonna have to work on that one a little bit more,
don't,
just because people are so gung ho.
What who is gung ho about it?
Well, they don't want to. I don't know. They don't want people to be like, this thing that we've always done is wrong.
Yes, that's the most spirited response I ever get is like, well, I'm okay with it. Like, that's the most I ever get from it. I don't know who these gung-ho people are about it. But the owners, apparently, because every time this comes up, the reporters are like, yeah, I don't know if this is going to go. The owners seem to like it as it is. And the best reasoning that I can get is because they think it makes the division games mean more, and that's important to them because they want to charge more money for tickets to the division games. But I'm so hard-pressed if there's a Buccaneers-Panthers game at the end of the year and both teams are 8-8, this is still a really important game because it determines who gets into the playoffs and who doesn't. I am missing. It just feels like there's a fear of now the divisions aren't going to matter, and then those important games won't be as important, and we can't charge as much money. I still think the divisions matter in this other scenario. It's just that we get it right instead of why not just say the Week 16 games? You win your Week 16 game, you're guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. Because then you could charge. Then the Week 16 game is the most important. You can charge as much money as you want for those tickets. Something has to matter. It has to be sensical. And this has never been sensical. This is obvious. This is a indisputable, undeniable. It is nonsense that the winners of bad divisions have been guaranteed home playoff games over teams that sometimes have as many as 14 wins. Nonsense. Utter bullshittery. And should be fixed. And the rest of them are nonsense as well. These are 3 no-brainer, fix the league rules. Quickly on Kobe Mayo.
Suck it up.
No.
Okay.
The response to this was so unfathomably stupid. And I get it. This is what happens, right? Like we think we're reading something, and so we respond to what we think we're reading instead of actually like double checking and making sure that what we're responding to is correct. Oh, Kobe Mayo's just a whiner. No. Kobe Mayo's point was, if you missed it, Kobe Mayo yesterday was sent down. We all kind of knew that was going to be the case. And looking at the roster construction, there was no room for Kobe Mayo, which I think Kobe Mayo knew as well. And to the point, I'll just read what he said. This is from Andy Koska's Twitter. It definitely is difficult. It obviously sucks because you feel like you've proven everything you've needed to. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it's quite enough. Obviously, you go back there, and if you have success, it's, oh, he's supposed to have success because he's already proven it. And if he doesn't have success, it's, oh, well, obviously he's fallen off. It's kind of a lose-lose going to Norfolk. 1,000% correct. If Kobe Mayo, in the first 3 weeks of the season, hits 10 home runs and is hitting .385, the response is going to be, right, well, he should be doing that. It's AAA. And if Kobe Mayo just has a stretch of 10 games where he doesn't happen to hit, because everybody has those for 10 days, then we're going to say, what happened to Kobe Mayo? He's 1,000% correct. It is lose-lose for Kobe Mayo. There is nothing to be gained in the public perception of what Kobe Mayo is doing. Now, for being charitable, the argument would be, well, maybe Kobe Mayo continues to play third base, and this is really good for his development. And he's actually a lot closer to being a third baseman than we realize he is. And with a little more time in AAA, he can become that third baseman. Is that likely? I think most of us would say probably not. He's probably never going to be a major league third baseman, even though he apparently made a fine defensive play 2 days ago. But if I was just trying to be fair, there would be the possibility of that. The more viable possibility is, well, we don't need Kobe Mayo on the roster. And since we don't, why would we have him get any service time? And I don't even think it's evil. I think it's probably smart business. Is it possible that Kobe Mayo will be a better option on the Major League roster than... I'm trying to think of somebody else.
The machine, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to make the team, but... I mean, he would definitely be than that.
Yeah, I guess I was still thinking about Gunnar being potential, but yeah.
Is it possible? I mean, I'd be talking about someone more along the line. This is why it makes the conversation difficult. Which of those guys is going to end up getting the last?
So Arias,
Ramon Arias, sure, somebody like that. Is it
the Ramones? So
yeah, is it possible? Yeah, it's possible, but we don't know that And so I'm not going to be terribly critical of Mike Elias or the Orioles for making that decision in a vacuum. But do I understand Kobe Mayo's frustration? Kobe Mayo's frustration was, well, you sent me to spring training, allegedly, for me to go compete for a spot, but you and I both know I was never competing for a spot. You decided your roster. There was no room for me. And I'm watching other guys that you never made room for, and they kind of expired. Everybody got mad when Connor Norby acknowledged to us that sometimes when he sees trades, he's like, maybe I might wish that my name was in there. No one wants to be at the minor leagues. Could you imagine? Imagine if these players like, dude, I'd just rather be playing in AAA. I just
rather 8-hour bus rides,
like this, or just the stress of being at the big leagues, and what I do, being what determines whether or not somebody would win a World Series. I can't handle that. Could you imagine the nonsense responses to this? He's absolutely correct. And the bigger picture issue, we could just end it at, yes, he's correct. But if your opinion is, I still think it's the right thing for the Orioles, all good, I get it. It might be. I don't know. None of us do. But it might very well be. I get it. Kobe Mayo wasn't great when he came up the first time. Did he demand that he be here? Nah, not necessarily. And the team's trying to compete, and they think they have guys that can help them at the big league level. All good. But it walks hand in hand with a conversation about prospect expiration, which is something that I'm concerned about with the Orioles. Connor Norby expired. He was a top 100 prospect, admittedly, bat first. I had somebody fighting with me about this last night. Oh, he was only viewed. He was graded exactly the same way as Jordan Westberg was. Just Jordan Westberg more of a defense guy and Connor Norby more of an offense guy. But like Fangraphs future value had them both as 45s. So when we try to throw away Connor Norby like he wasn't a prospect, do you not think that Jordan Westberg, I think we're pretty high on him, right? Connor Norby was a legitimate prospect. Bat more so than glove, 1,000%. Nobody knew exactly what Connor Norby would be as a position player. Connor Norby expired. He went from top 100 prospect to guy that was starting to get up there. And by the time the Orioles got around to trading him, he fetched them next to nothing. I mean, hopefully Trevor Rogers will still end up being a major league player. Joey Ortiz expired, and then you would say, but got them Corbin Burns. But he got them 1 year of Corbin Burns. It's a trade that I'm willing to make, in particular because I'll never regret the trade, because you don't draft and develop pitchers, so you have to pay a tax. You have to overpay for rental pitchers. You did that. It's the conversation we're having right now about, Dylan Cease. You decided that you weren't going to develop pitchers. And apparently also not spend money on them in free agency. So what comes with that is the price goes up. Joey Ortiz, a viable prospect, fetched you 1 year of a pitcher. Now, again, a very good pitcher. No, I get it. But 1 year. And not even Joey Ortiz alone. Heston Kjerstad, I have no idea where we're at. Will Heston Kjerstad still prove to be an actual commodity? Will he just be a guy? I don't know. The Orioles have a prospect expiration problem. And to think that these guys don't notice it, like if you say, well, yeah, but they promoted and they developed and they treated Gunnar and Adley and Jackson Holiday and Jordan Westberg and Colton Cowser appropriately. Yes, that's true. I think that's entirely true. I'm trying to think if there's anything that they did wrong with any of those guys. I don't think so.
No, I mean, I guess now you can argue that you caught Holiday too quick, but
maybe, yeah. or maybe he never really was a second baseman, and if you were going to draft him where you drafted him, you needed to acknowledge that. And I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. But I can't really have any quarrels with the way they've treated that group of guys. But that doesn't change how many have gone the other way, and that for all of these assets, that you need to do one or the other. It either needs to be that there's a clear plan for them, or they need to be dealt when they have their greatest value. I was reminded that I was someone who supported the Rays theory of coming and going, like doing both things. That's what the Rays did well for years. Now, I would prefer that you sign your guys and keep them around for a long time.
Yeah, the ironic part. The one guy the Rays did sign for a long period of time.
Just the one guy that things went to hell with, obviously. But this is just where I am. There's a bigger issue there. And Kobe Mayo is right. If Kobe Mayo said, I'm miserable, I'm not going to go. Like, that's let's talk about that. I refuse to report to Norfolk. Okay, now we got a conversation. Or if he says, I'm not going to try. Like, we're reacting to him. Maybe he's just not cut out for this. Like, what are you talking about?
Who said that?
It's just effing bizarre, the responses to Kobe Mayo yesterday being completely correct. There is nothing that it's a lose-lose in our eyes for Kobe Mayo at Norfolk. Now, I hope that he becomes a better all-around hitter as he continues in that time. I hope that he becomes a third baseman. I hope all of those things. But in our perspective, 100% right. Lose-lose. We got to take one more break?
We do, yeah.
God damn it. All right, one more break. Tidbit Tubular, Conor Spagnolli to wrap up the show. Glenn Clark Radio.
Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses make golf fun and affordable. All 5 local courses, Pine Ridge, Mount Pleasant, Forest Park, Carroll Park, and Clifton Park, are challenging and fun for players of all skill levels. Book your tee time today at classic5golf.com.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in Maryland. But don't worry, protection is within arm's reach. Protect your health with this year's COVID-19 and flu shots. It's safe and convenient to get them both at the same time. Flex your protection. For more information, visit health.maryland.gov/vaccines.
This message paid for by the Maryland Department of Health.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
March is a slam dunk at Live Casino. Catch all the basketball action and more at Sports and Social. Enter our $80,000 Dolce & Gabbana giveaway on March 28th. And catch the Baltimore baseball jersey giveaway March 31st. Take your shot at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Glenn Clark and I sit down for a Q&A with Orioles owner David Rubenstein, discussing what he learned from his first year as owner, his goals both on and off the field, and his involvement in baseball decisions. Also inside, Brooks DeBose profiles new Oriole Tyler O'Neill, and we meet college lacrosse players from around the state. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCRs, continue along and try to start winding down for a Wednesday edition of the program. Get in the bracket contest for F's sake. I'm telling you, if we get to tomorrow morning and I'm still dealing with this, I'm going to be infuriated. Get it filled up today. Thank you, Megan Greist. I love you. You're the best. She just got in. Thank you. All right, now let's get a tidbit. Tidbit. I don't think we have to do a sponsor. Tidbit. Just do it. Tidbit.
You want Jackson Holiday's bracket?
No, I want to do a tidbit, and we got to move.
He did not pick many upsets.
Okay.
3-1 seeds in the Final
just
Four.
said I didn't want.
He's got
I
Florida
just said I
beating
didn't want Jackson Holiday's
Maryland.
bracket.
The only big upset he had was Drake.
I just said I didn't want the bracket.
How about Daffy Duck's bracket?
No.
What? What do you mean no?
Just do a tidbit.
Sidney Thomas's bracket?
Or we're not doing it.
Then I was gonna do. I mean, all right, hold on. I had a good baseball one in here. That might be. So Sean Burke is going to be the opening day starter for the White Sox. He will be the seventh pitcher to start on a seventh pitcher in the last 100 years to start on opening day, despite having thrown fewer than 20 innings pitched.
Not a chance. Not a chance in hell.
Yeah, you're right. That is a tough one. The one guy that the most recent one is the one that you would have a chance at getting Fernando Valenzuela back in 1981.
Right, maybe.
The other names now you're not going to get.
A
Tom
chance in hell.
Pahalski, Preacher Rowe, Hal Gregg.
I mean, great names.
Eddie Smith and Carol Yerkes.
Sure.
Carol
100%.
Yerkes. Old Carol Yerkes.
Yep, not a chance in hell.
There have been 24. There we go. There have been 24 double-digit seeds to make the Elite Eight in the history of the tournaments.
It's an awful lot, dog.
Can you name the last 10 to do it? That'd be all since 20. Be in the last 15 years.
So this is George Mason would be before this.
Correct.
No. Double digits. The Elite, because nobody cares. Like the Elite Eight isn't a thing. The Final Four is a thing. The Elite Eight isn't a thing. NC State last year. How about Elite Eight? How about Christ? The Elite Eight is such a stupid mark for this. I'm trying to think of other Final Four teams that were double-digit seeds. Was Miami a double-digit seed when they made the Final Four?
They were, yes.
Okay.
They were a 10 seed.
But neither San Diego State nor Florida Atlantic was, right? Yeah, they were both
they
single
both
digits.
nines? Yeah. Maybe one was an 8, but yeah.
Man. Was did St. Peter's get the Elite Eight?
St. Peter's did make it to the Elite Eight. You got the most recent 3.
I couldn't remember if they lost in the Sweet 16 or if they actually got there.
2 double-digit seeds in the 2021 as well.
2 double-digit seeds.
That's the one that you're not gonna like acknowledging this one because this was essentially the COVID year.
Yeah, no, that was a real-ish tournament. I mean, it was all in Indiana, but
right?
It was real-ish. But I'm trying to get me to remember who.
One of the teams they were both Pac-12 teams.
They were both Pac-12 teams. It wasn't UCLA, wasn't it?
It was in fact
UCLA
made the
double-digit
final.
Seed made
They made the final. Yeah.
No,
they were an 11 seed.
Did they make? No, they lost to Gonzaga, didn't they?
Was that the Final Four?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's just the game I remember from that year. But yeah, you're right. Baylor and Gonzaga was the final. Yeah. But yes, UCLA, there was another Pac-12 team that made the Elite Eight that year. A 12 seed.
12 seed that made the Elite Eight. Well, there's only so many Pac-12 teams. Oregon.
Nope.
USC.
Mm-mm.
Utah.
Mm-mm.
Arizona State.
Mm-mm.
Cal. Stanford. Washington. Oregon State, Washington State.
Oregon State. There you go.
Hey,
Yep, you knew it. You knew it.
Had it all on.
Nailed it. Oregon State. And then we had 5 others between the years 2010
VCU,
and
one of them.
VCU back in 2011.
Was Wichita State when they made their run?
No, they must have been a 9. Were they an 8 or a 9 that year? But
there was
not
one year they were the
Wichita
1
State.
seed.
That's right. Yeah,
and then they lost to Kentucky.
Yeah.
But I thought the year they made the big run, they were a lower seed. Davidson was never a double-digit seed, right?
They were, but they're outside my cutoff here. I was asking for the most. They would have been if I was asking for the most recent 11. Davidson was a 10 seed in 2008.
Great. I actually remember them making the Elite Eight because I specifically remember being bummed that they lost. And I don't remember anything about the Elite Eight because the Elite Eight isn't a thing.
We have a team double-digit seed in the Elite Eight from in 2014, 16, 17, and 18.
None of that helps me because I don't remember the Elite Eight.
Well, one we talked about earlier on the show, in the first hour.
Talked about them the first hour of the show. talked about them. This specific team?
Yeah.
Oh, Xavier.
Yes,
Yeah,
Xavier. Maryland was a casualty of, of the 2017 Xavier team.
Still requires me to know that they made it to the Elite Eight.
And there's one more that I'm trying to think. Did these all? I don't think the 2014 team. I don't think made the Final Four. The 16 team did, and the 18 team did.
They both. All right, and then I should be able to. These are things that I should know. I'll give you that. 2016.
Mm-hmm. So the reason I remember, I mean, this isn't going to help you at all, but just to fill the air, I guess.
Yeah,
when we were in high school, we did like every like homeroom got like a team, and then you like it was just like a big march.
It was 2016, the year that Syracuse went from the first four to the Final Four.
That was Syracuse as a 10 seed in 2016, and my my like homeroom got assigned to Syracuse, so we were going nuts. We're like, oh my God, Syracuse is going to win us
last night was talking
a pizza
about
party.
How like Carolina could be the next team to do that. Like
we were all like, how'd we get? We got a first four team. We're screwed. And then Syracuse went on that run. So
2018. These were the two Villanova years, right? They won the title both years.
Yeah.
So this would be Loyola Chicago.
Loyola
right?
Chicago in 2018. Yes.
All right.
And
but I only know that because they made the Final Four. If it had been Elite Eight, there was no chance.
And then 2014, I think they did lose in the Elite Eight, but it was
2014.
Yeah, they did lose in the Elite Eight, and it was Dayton.
I don't remember Dayton.
Dayton as an 11
seed. I don't remember that at all.
Going on a run in 2014.
Don't
so yeah,
remember
that was painless.
Yeah, that was great. All right, Tubular.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, here goes. What's coming up tonight, totally tubular-wise? Mount St. Mary's tries to get into the round of 64. They take on our buddy Dwayne Simpkins, an American. Man, I hate that one of these teams has to lose. 6:40 tonight, True TV in the NCAA Tournament, and Xavier, Texas at 9:10 after that. Loyola Women's Lacrosse hosts Syracuse, 5 o'clock on ESPN+. More NIT tonight, no chance. Not going over that. The first four in the women's tournament tonight on ESPNU. Princeton, Iowa State at 7, Southern UC San Diego at 9. We should do a side bet on a women's bracket. Let's do that. Oh, we can make that for the cheesesteak milkshake. Did you ever talk to Gwen's Chili Bowl?
Oh, shoot. No, I forgot to talk to her. I mean, we should be able to make that happen.
All right. Do you want to do a side bet on the women's bracket?
Fine.
Why not? What are we doing here?
Because I don't know what I'm doing.
See if Jeremy wants in.
Okay.
See if Jeremy wants in. See if Ken, when he's here tomorrow, because he
All right.
likes. Actually, Ken, I think, follows women's basketball.
Well, then he'll definitely be in.
All right. See if Ken and Jeremy want in for a side bet on a cheesesteak milkshake. All right. The women's bracket. Jeremy on the winning. God damn it. All right. Whatever. What was I doing? Oh, yeah. More NIT.
Yeah, first four stuff.
Monumental Wizards Jazz, 9 o'clock tonight. ESPN Pistons Heat at 7:30. Nuggets Lakers at 10. TNT Avs Maple Leafs at 7. Kraken Wild at 9:30. Tennis Channel for Miami Open coverage all day. MLB Network Yankees Phillies 1. Guardians Angels. It's like the Sharks and the Jets. Like sometimes you just come across things and you're like, I get a kick out of that. Guardians Angels, 4 o'clock. Giants Royals at 9 o'clock. TBS AEW Dynamite at 8. Non-sports.
Survivor, Amazing Race, Abbott Elementary. There's not really a whole lot. There's a Twister documentary on Netflix about tornadoes and stuff. Specifically,
Is Bill Paxton involved? Or
no, it's not.
Okay,
Unfortunately, it's like an actual documentary. It's
Powell?
like serious. Not that Twister wasn't serious, but
I still haven't watched Twisters. I did watch Nora.
Oh, really? How was it?
Monday night, like I promised.
I did not watch Nora.
It was wonderful. It's a wonderful film. It really. I mean, like. It's a wonderfully made film. It's entertaining. It's really good. I can see. I don't know if it's. I can't compare it to other Best Pictures because it's of the three like award nominated films that I watched. It's definitely the best of them.
Better than Dune?
I did not watch Dune.
Oh, okay.
I watched A Complete Unknown, and I watched the Real Pain.
Oh,
I watched those. It's the best of them.
Really?
Yes, by far.
Okay. Interesting.
Kind of not close. It's really good. But
we got the
It's not for kids, is what I was going to say. It's not for the children's.
NBC's got no Chicago. I think it's usually Chicago Wednesday. No, like Chicago Fire, PD, etc. Usually it's Oprah, now it's Opry or Opry. Is that what it sounds like?
Grand Ole Opry?
Yeah, the Grand Ole Opry. 100.
John Colson went to the Grand Ole Opry.
Really? The 100th celebration, 100th year celebration of the Grand Ole Opry.
How about that?
On NBC, hosted by Blake Shelton.
Ah, yes.
Apparently, Carrie Underwood will be there. Reba should be there. Lainey Wilson, Dirks Bentley, all our favorites.
Plugging the NCAA tournament. That's
Really?
actually the reason why they're going.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just to
So
plug
never mind. So it just happens to be 100 years as well.
Go figure.
Fallon's going to have Eva Longoria and Kat Williams on.
Plugging in Nora.
Oh,
yeah.
Good for that.
It's on Hulu now.
That's pretty
so,
cool.
yeah.
And then Hulu, speaking of Hulu, the one thing, there's a show, Good American Family, Ellen Pompeo. This looks kind of freaky, actually. So her family adopts a little girl they believe to be 7 years old and suffers from dwarfism. However, apparently they think that she's not actually 7 and that she's like an adult.
I'm pretty sure this was.
Is this based on like a real story?
I'm pretty sure there was a real story here. It's also a storyline in Veep, more or less.
Oh, really? Well, and apparently, but it's like freaky though because apparently there's multiple trailers. I didn't see the other trailer. I saw apparently there's multiple trailers from like different perspectives.
Okay.
Like there's one out from the little girl's perspective where like you believe that she's actually a little girl and this family's almost like go out to get you. So like it looks really like terrifying. And then the one I watched was from the parents' perspective and it makes the little girl look like a freak, you know. Like this weird person that's like trying to get one over on this family.
I feel like this might be based on
but that's on Hulu with Ellen Pompeo.
Okay.
So looks interesting. I don't know if I'll ever get to it, but yeah.
If it's not a doc, I'm not watching it.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. All right. Thanks today to Conor Spagnolli, who we're about to hear from, Drew, Ryan Odom, Brenda Frese. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
One Shining, or
we
the ball is tipped.
Yeah, but you did. That's the same one you did yesterday. Way to be prepared.
Tab
at GlennClarkRadio.com.
Oh, Mark got in.
Mark?
Yeah, our guy Mark Terrell.
Mark Terrell from Mark My Word.
Yeah.
Oh, love that guy. Does he have friends?
I just asked him.
All right.
He said.
All right.
He seems like a popular guy.
He's a very popular guy. He's got a popular podcast. We still have a few spots available, but I love that. That's great to hear. All right. Thanks to everybody at Pressbox. Oh, tomorrow on the show, anything? Ken Zales is in studio with us tomorrow.
KZ
We're going to do a mock draft with KZ in
sweet.
studio. Stuff and things.
Stuff and
things.
things.
Oh, boy. All right.
Get you ready for the NCAA tournament.
Sure. Thanks to everybody at Pressbox, all of our great sponsors and partners.
Ken's going to pick the entire field as well for the bracket. Yeah. It's going to be a big Ken day.
And find out if we're doing the women's thing. I'm excited about the idea of a women's side bet. And then when Jeremy responds, tell him he needs to get into our bracket contest. He said he was going to. He said he was going to get in. Tell him I'm sweating it. Just be like, Glenn's going through it a little bit. Are you getting it? All right. Thanks, everybody at the Pressbox, all of our great sponsors and partners, Live Casino and Hotel, Cruise Maryland, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costa Sin, MSAA, Maryland Sports, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Wednesday evening. Go Mount St. Mary's. And Duke sucks, particularly if they face Mount St. Mary's. We wrap up today's show. I had to do it a little bit earlier. Big win for Towson Lacrosse over the weekend. Conor Spagnolli to finish up the day here on GCR. Lacrosse coming off a thriller in overtime over Delaware on Saturday. A lot of fun, although I'm going to guess our next guest would probably say, yeah, we would have liked if we would have given up a few less goals in the process, but a win is a win. Joining us now here on GCR, senior defender for the Tigers. It's a pleasure to welcome in Conor Spagnolli, who's with us on the program. Conor, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us.
Yeah, Glenn, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on here today.
Conor, winning is all that matters, right? Like I know that you're going to tell me about how you don't like the fact they put up 18 goals, but at the end, getting the win is the part that matters, correct?
I mean, at the end of the day, getting the win is the mission of of our team. To CAA victory, we knew it wasn't going to be easy, but like you said, on the defensive end, there's some things that we got to clean up. But a win's a win in the CAA, and we got to continue to stack those.
Can you take me through what it just felt like that was a needed, I think is the word that we come away with, not just because of the CAA, but given how the season had started and what we know you guys are capable of. Was it a relief? Was it exuberation? What was the reaction after Mikey scored the goal in overtime to get you that much needed win?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a mix of excitement and, kind of a relief. I think, the guys in the locker room have all the trust in each other. And I think, our record doesn't really show how talented of a team we are. And, that game right there just showed how powerful our offense can be. And, we've had games in the past where our defense has been pretty solid. So the ability to connect those two and, have a really high scoring game with our offense, but play great defensively, I think we're going to be a really dangerous team. So, it's exciting to see, our offense put up, 18 goals, obviously, or 19 goals, but obviously, like we said, there's some things that we got to clean up. But it's exciting to see the route that, this team is going to take. And, like I said, everyone in the locker room knows of what we're capable of, being. It's just, that the record, we've had some struggles early on in the season, but, like I said, it's one game at a time. It's continuing to stack those wins. And, like I said, a CAA win's a CAA win, and, you just got to continue to, stack those.
Particularly against Delaware, who is going to be in it with you guys down the stretch. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, for sure.
Conor, you bring that up, right? Like, I think everybody in the country knows that you're better than those results the first couple of weeks. And I know that you were banged up, as a team coming into the season as well. What is it that you feel like still needs to click to get to that place where you guys can get back to playing that level where you can repeat as CAA champion?
I think it all comes down to consistency on both sides of the ball, in the middle of the field, our face-off units, our riding clear scheme. It's all consistency. There's glimpses in each game of, what we can look like. But, as our record shows, glimpses don't lead to success. We have to put full games together. And, that starts with practice. It starts coming in every day, consistently, putting in the work that we need to, achieving what's on our scouting report, really just diving in with each other and being consistent. And I think that's going to be shown in these next couple of games when we're starting to click. And that's going to really prove, why, we got so much hype, but also, what team we can be at the end of the season.
I was going to say, Conor, is there like a part of you as a senior that, like, from a 10,000-foot view could say, is there any chance that maybe, given the success you had a year ago, guys needed to be reminded, like, early on this year, it's not easy. Like, we don't just get the win because everybody thinks we're good. Like, we still have to go do the work.
No, it's fair point. Yeah. And I think, the guys in the locker room know that, this year is a different team, which is a different personality. And I think, early on we struggled to adapt to that, but now, we're not getting down on ourselves for that, our early season losses. We're trying to, get the puzzles, in pieces and everything. And, back to that consistency point, play to the standard of Towson lacrosse and play to what we know we're capable of. We do have a lot of experience on this team to be a talented team. It just comes down to that consistent play, which we know we can get out of each other. And we see it, in practice day in and day out.
He is Conor Spagnolli, Towson's senior captain. He's with us here on GCR. The Tigers are home again this Saturday at noon against Stony Brook over at United Stadium. And I saw there's going to be a camo hat giveaway for the first 500 fans. So I got a busy schedule, but I'm going to have to send somebody over there to get one of those for myself. Conor, I gotta talk about your path, right? Because I know there was a cool opportunity a couple weeks ago with the game against Virginia down in Houston for you to go back and play in Texas. What did that mean to you? And I guess we got to just know, how does a kid growing up in Texas come to lacrosse, end up at Towson? Not the traditional path.
Yeah, no, for sure. Being down in Houston for a game was surreal for me. When I signed to come to Towson to play lacrosse, I never expected to play a Division I lacrosse game in Texas. So it was a really cool moment. A lot of family there, a lot of friends were able to come down. Obviously didn't have the outcome we wanted, but to be in that environment, to see some old high school coaches that, I played against, seeing all these young, individuals that are learning the sport, it was a surreal moment for me. But for me growing up, lacrosse, it was, my cousins are from, Long Island. So it kind of got passed down that way. Our family's from New York. So was able to see my older cousin, play lacrosse. And then eventually my older brother picked it up. So they kind of brought it down, to Texas for us. And, I give a ton of credit to, the West Coast and kind of how it's shaping up as a lacrosse, location and a hotbed. We did a great job, I think, in club lacrosse, bringing a lot of attention to the West Coast guys. We got guys on our team from Seattle and Portland, like, the club scene on the West Coast is getting really big, and even in Texas, it's just getting really big, and the attention that I think it deserves. So, you got a lot of young guys right now going down to Texas and coaching. You got, the Anthony and Nick DeMayos, and in the Woodlands, you got Justin Anderson from the PLL and Keller. Like, you got these big names, creating a lot of excitement, in the state of Texas. It's probably never going to be as big as football, and that's okay. I think that's kind of been recognized, but they have that, spring season where, football players can come in and play lacrosse and enjoy the sport and, continue to grow it. I think, it's just going to get bigger in Texas and it's just going to get better. And I think it's really cool to see that process, starting from, a young individual to now being a Division I player and then having that game in Texas. It's just a really full circle moment for me to see, the continuous development, of lacrosse in Texas and in the West Coast.
I know Mike Pressler's been a big part of that with the Highland Park program as well. Yep. And my guy Jacob Stover, he was the goalie at Loyola, who's down there now too. So yeah, you're right. It continues to grow. Are you at the point now, like when you are back home, that like your friends maybe they actually know, like they don't have to ask you like, so explain this sport to me, like they're starting to understand?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I've had friends fly up for games because they just want to see the excitement. So
that's cool, man.
Lacrosse is, it's definitely getting bigger and it's definitely getting better, and it's awesome to see now.
So what is it like for you, like, coming from that place, when you get to a place like Towson and you're playing big games against, the Johns Hopkins, the Syracuses of the world, like, not to say maybe you did have huge crowds, but like, what has it been like for you now over these 4 years playing in these raucous atmospheres and in a place that's so lacrosse crazy?
Yeah, I think it's just like kind of a dream come true for me. Being from Texas, almost all my summers had to, be back east playing in these tournaments back in Maryland and New York and Philly. So, kind of just being around these areas, I kind of knew it was a hotbed. And that's kind of why I picked Towson. Going from, Texas all the way to Maryland, like I wanted to be in a hotbed for lacrosse if I'm going to go, make the way up there. I wanted to be in an area that's so supported by lacrosse. Yeah. Growing up, it was really just football, football, football. Now it's awesome, to be able to walk on, in this area and, you're playing the Hopkins, you're playing the Loyolas with big crowds and big support. So, it's kind of everything I wanted, as a individual when I chose to come to Towson. I knew the crowds we were going to get. I knew the support lacrosse had in this this environment. So again, it's a really just surreal moment. Looking back at my 4 years, like this is kind of all I've ever really dreamed about when I picked up the stick, in third grade, and when my cousin gave it to me, like this is what I envisioned it to be in 10 times better, like playing the Syracuses, playing at Homewood Field, those are just, iconic places that you want to play as a kid. You want to be able to get to that level and to play in those. So, when you go to those stadiums and you're playing in these games, you try to soak it in as much as you can. But, at the end of the day, you got to stay focused. Yeah. Obviously, you're trying to accomplish a mission, but, it'd be naive to say, like, when you get to those stadiums, you're like, wow, like, this is really Homewood Field or this is the Carrier Dome. Like, it's a really just a surreal moment, and like it's a big full circle because like that's all you look at as a kid is like playing at Clockner Field for Virginia, like just like everything you really dream of.
That's really cool, man. That's really cool to hear you talk about it that way. Conor Spagnolli from Towson is with us. So a year ago against Navy, you scored a goal. Did that change? Like, do you get the green light now? Like, if this season, if you're bringing it across, like, do you get the opportunity, the thumbs up to go right ahead, or did that not change anything for you?
Man, I wish I could sit here and say I have the complete green light. I think, the coaches trust me in those situations to make those reads. But, at the end of the day, I trust my attackmen to, if they don't want to throw it back to me, they don't want to throw it back to me. I trust those guys and their experience down low. Would love to get some more goals, obviously, but an assist or a hockey assist doesn't hurt either. And, I trust those guys more with the ball than me, to be honest.
Plus, you got, like, no matter what, you got one. Like, you got to have that thrill that everyone who ever plays defensively gets to have. Like, no one can ever take that away from you, even if it's the only one you ever had.
Exactly.
That's the part that matters the most. Conor, we talk about it, right? Obviously, a year ago, you guys win the CAA. You play that thriller up at Syracuse. What it takes to do this, but then, like, how much does it drive you, having had the taste, to say, we know we can win in the NCAA tournament. We know that that's not our ceiling, what we did a year ago. And now, particularly as a senior, how important is it to you to get back there and put yourself in position to go even further?
Yeah, no, it's definitely really important. It's a goal for all of us in this locker room. Last year we saw, we had what it took to be in the NCAA tournament. Now we have the experience, we have the guys, and, we have full confidence in ourselves, that, we can win the CAA, we can make the tournament, and we can make ourselves a run. And I think, that's kind of the main goal. Obviously, we got to take it one game at a time. The CAA is no cakewalk. And if anyone watches the CAA, every game and every little thing in those games are earned. And so we got to kind of take it one game at a time and not look too forward ahead of us. But yeah, it's definitely an important goal for us. Like I said, we have the experience. We know what it takes. We've played close games with those top teams. Like we know we're capable of being in that situation. We just kind of have to earn our way now to get there. And I think we're doing that day in and day out through practice.
Love it, man. Love the sounds of that. Again, Towson back at home this Saturday against Stony Brook at noon. Conor Spagnolli, social media-wise, Twitter, Instagram, anything like that, where can Towson fans be giving you a follow?
Yeah, Instagram, Twitter, just at Conor Spagnolli.
It's kind of nice about being named. It's Conor with one N, so let's make that clear.
Yes.
And there's kind of the nice part about having a name like Conor Spagnolli is you don't really have to fight people for it on social media.
Exactly. It's all just one little thing. Every social media is the same.
That works out all right for you. Conor, congratulations on a huge win for you guys, and looking forward to seeing how that springboards you guys moving forward throughout CAA play. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning, man. We really enjoyed this.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys for having me on.